Okay.
We're beginning. Welcome back to another episode of 12 Summers. And today is a special day. Today is Valentine's Day, February 14th.
Indeed.
And me and my brother Masumiya, Gavin Masumiya, we're here for we're gonna dig deep and
Yes, we are.
what are we gonna talk about? We don't know yet. But the reason I'm asking Mr. Masumiya to be on the show is, I've been kind of watching him from the side, and watching what he's doing, and he's really, kind of putting himself out there, teaching, and in a very humble way, and teaching the world about the stuff that's important to him. And I admire that, I admire people who can freely express themselves, and share the world with their gift. And I love what he's doing. So, and we get to talk about that a little bit or a lot. We don't know.
Let's see. I'm willing to go wherever we got to go.
Yeah. So he's on the show. I'm excited. Before the show began, he kind of, you asked me to kind of go over what the context for 12 Summer is.
Yes.
Well, 12 Summers is a context. It's poetic, and it's a context itself. The context is, time is running out. It's only 12 summers with our kids. If you can recall, I don't know how many summers did you get with your dad before you turned into young adult, and you're like, okay, I gotta do my shit. I don't want to hang out with my buddies. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to listen to you. And a lot of men told me with their sons is at most 12 summers, right? Maybe daughters a little different, but I think with daughter father might be the same thing, because when they turn into teenagers, like, what's there to talk about? There's, it's hard to talk to dad about their stuff. They're gonna go to mom, right? So 12 summers, time's running out. There's a sense of urgency. My younger sister, she just had a baby, barely 1 month old, and she's just exhausted and overwhelmed, right? And everything feels like never ending. Feeding, getting to sleep, and diapers, just like never ending. And a lot of time we feel like we're in the middle of it. There's no ending, but really there's just 12 summers. So, and it really resonated with a lot of fathers I talk to. They're like, holy shit, yeah, my son is 9, I got 3 left. Oh, my son is 8, I got 4. And my son is 2, I still have 10. And some fathers are restarting the count because they just have a new baby. It's like, hey, I get to restart my timer, or countdown. So originally I started this because I want to learn, how to be a powerful father, a good father. I believe powerful father, peaceful world. And the more, like if the father is have the support and the tools and the knowledge and technology, and to do his job, it's really gonna change this world. So that's why 12 summers.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's about the podcast. Let's talk a little bit about you.
Yeah. You have any specific questions? You just want me to flow?
Yeah, well, let's flow. I mean, that's why you're here.
Yeah. So, yes, born and raised in Los Angeles. I'm a 4th generation Japanese American. So it was very Americanized, very acclimated into Western culture. I think it's just important to note that, to pay homage to those who've stood the ground before me. It was my great grandparents that made the move over here, who I never met. And, my grandparents, they were born and raised here. They were also during World War II, they were in the internment camps. And it's just it's something that's so wild to think that as an American citizen, that they had pretty much their rights taken away from them, and they were pretty much locked up and closed behind this barbed wire fence because their own government didn't trust them. And they lost everything for a span, I think it was about 3 to 4 years in the 1940s, and they just had to start over again without any more government support thereafter, and faced a lot of discrimination even afterwards. And they really paved the way to, me today, who has so much more opportunity. And so I really just, now that I'm 32 years old, still have a long way to go. I have so much more of a sense of appreciation for, for my lineage, for making the move over here and giving me this opportunity to live in America where there's so much freedom. I lived in Japan for a couple of years in 2013 to 2015, which was really amazing in its own way. And man, there's just something magical about being here that I'd never take back. So,
which city did you?
Mar Vista.
No, like in Japan.
Oh, where did I live?
Yeah.
So I lived in a city called Yokosuka.
Okay.
They're known to have a U.S. Navy base there, and I just ended up, moving and renting out a shared house. I taught English there, and then I taught at a middle school. God dang, I hate that age group. If anybody thinks that like middle school students in Japan should behave better, I'll be the one to disprove that. They're just teenagers, and they're going to be teenagers.
Tell me about Japanese students. I'm curious. That age, what age group?
It was probably between, I guess, over here, because 6 years is in elementary school, so it would consider 7th to 9th grade over here.
Okay.
Yeah, so whatever that age group is, I'm not really sure. It's in the teens. And yeah, that was a very interesting experience. Actually, it's where I basically taught classrooms for the first time, and having to go from speak English to them, it was a lot harder than I expected.
Do you speak any Japanese?
I speak very little.
Very little?
Yeah, very little Japanese. Never had to use it growing up. Even with my grandparents, they only spoke to us in English. But yeah, so I'm pretty as American as you can get for an Asian. Actually, when I went to college, it was the first time that I was really around a lot of Asians that were other than Japanese American, because I grew up in a Japanese American community, which was so amazing. But that's what I was when I really met, like, first generation Chinese Americans, Korean Americans, Vietnamese Americans. And then in some ways, I almost felt like I was outcasted because I was the white Asian.
Right. You're fourth generation.
Yeah, so I was given a lot of shit, even in my fraternity, It's just like, why don't you know your own heritage? And so I almost, there's a part where I kind of made myself wrong for it, even though that was kind of outside of my control. I was just so integrated as a fourth generation. But it was an interesting just thing to sometimes just to feel like I was outcasted from the Asian race.
Do you, how about your parents? Do they speak Japanese or?
No, my mom doesn't speak any other than saying, arigato, thank you. My dad speaks a little bit, but no, very, very little.
Do you, have you ever wanted to learn the language?
Well, I did. I studied it in high school, like kind of half-ass studied it because you had to take a language class. But then I never really practiced it. I cheated a lot in class. So I just didn't take it seriously, right? And even when I was in Japan, I did study it, but I ended up getting a relationship with this amazing Japanese woman who spoke a little better English than I did Japanese. So 90% of the time we spoke English.
I see.
And so I kind of put myself in a position where I wasn't really using it to its full capacity. And then when I got back in late May of 2015, it was like, forget it, I didn't use it at all. So I lost a lot of the words that I knew. And right now I don't see any intention on learning it. But I am open to surprises. But as of now, it's a no.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is, my son is 4, and we're kind of thinking about, hey, how do we get him to learn Chinese? I think there's a couple reasons I want him to learn the language. Well, number one, he can stay in communication with grandparents, and 2 is I think there is a lot of like the kind of the Eastern philosophy stuff that I think can only be understood in Chinese. It's like a different culture. They have their own words, and other culture will have a difficulty translating because they just don't have the word.
Right.
Right. And with Chinese and Japanese, a lot of stuff it's with context, right? It's the same word, but when you use it differently in a different context, it can mean totally different thing.
Sure.
Right. So it's a horrible idea to get a Chinese character tattoo, in my opinion, because it's lacking context. So the tattoo artist or scam artist might tell you, oh, this means warriors and means powerful warriors. But when you put it together, it just looks freaking stupid.
Yeah.
Every time I see them, it's like, oh.
And it's so common. Yeah.
It is very common, right? But because it's lacking the context. So when you just put 2 random words together, it might mean something completely different than what you think it means. So that's it. That's the second. And I think when I was maybe little, my parents always tell me like, oh, like Mandarin Chinese is gonna be an important language. And now I'm 43. I finally feel like that's true. Like people are starting to wanting to learn the language, and it's, a lot of people use it. A lot of people do business with China and all that.
Is it Canto Mandarin?
It's you mean Cantonese?
Yes, Cantonese.
Cantonese is its own language. It's a beautiful language, mostly used by people in Canton and Hong Kong, and I suspect Cantonese used to be the official language for the old China, and for some reason they switched to Mandarin. Because if you use Cantonese to read Chinese poetry, it sounds amazingly beautiful. You don't even need to understand it, but it just sounds amazing. So I suspect it's a pretty like an ancient branch of the Chinese language. Yeah.
What language do you speak?
Mandarin.
Oh, you're Mandarin. Okay.
Mandarin. Yeah. And I'm from Taiwan, so we also speak. I don't speak a lot of Taiwanese. I can understand maybe 70%, 80% of it, and maybe speak 30% of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and now I'm just lacking practice, so maybe down to 20%. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I think, there's one time I saw Mr. Donald Trump's granddaughter. She was singing because she has a Chinese nanny.
Oh, okay.
And she's singing like a Chinese children's song on TV. I was like, damn it! If my son can even not do that, I don't know how to answer to my ancestor when I die.
Yeah.
Like Donald Trump's granddaughters can speak better Chinese than my son, and that's not acceptable. So I'm like, oh, how do I do that? But I feel it's hard to do that living here. Like I see a lot of my second generation Asian friends.
Yeah.
They stop speaking their mother tongue or.
Yeah, that is a difficult one. I even had conversations back when I was in a relationship with this a Japanese woman back when I was living there, and also my cousins who lives in Orlando right now. She's full Japanese, was born in Hiroshima, met somebody from the Navy that originally is from Alabama, and then they got together. So he didn't speak a lick of Japanese, and she was able to speak English. When she ended up having her two kids, her two boys, she made it a point that even though she could speak English, because they were moving to Ocala in Florida, she made a point that she was only going to speak to her kids in Japanese and that they could only speak it back. She would only respond in Japanese because if she didn't do that, where she was, they were in America, they weren't going to retain it. And that was the responsibility that she took upon herself because her husband was never interested in ever learning the language. And so even in talks, when I was considering, thinking longer term with my ex, it's just like, yeah, I would want them to be bilingual. Like, this is what my cousin Michael did. What did you think about that? Would you kind of take the reign as, really instilling it? And we had a little back and forth about it. But that was how actually my cousins learned Japanese.
Yes. I think the parents, especially maybe the mom, who spending more time with the children when they're little. If they do that, it helps. Yeah. I have, when I was at UCLA, we have a professor from Taiwan, super smart. And his son also became a professor, also super smart. And the son was second generation, and he speaks fluent Chinese. And I asked him once, like, how come your Chinese is like so good, like even with super little accent, And he's like, oh, my dad when I was little, like kind of told me like I don't know how to speak English, but his dad speaks such good English, but just at home he's like, I don't know how to speak English. We don't speak Chinese at home. Maybe that's how it works. You gotta have the discipline to stick to that language. I don't know. Yeah.
You ready to commit to that?
No, I was. We're gonna even commit to bigger stuff. I don't know. We might move back to Asia for a couple of years for them to learn the language.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
we don't.
You're open for that.
We're not committing to anything, but we're just kind of evaluating because I don't see a lot of success of. All my second generation friends retaining the language. It's just challenging.
Yeah.
They have enough stuff little kids have enough stuff to worry about. And now they gotta speak Chinese,
Yeah.
And none of their friends are,
Right.
So anyway, that's what I'm asking you. Yeah, I was curious.
Yeah.
But I think like everything has like trade-off, right? The trade-off of doing that is you won't be growing up only learning English, because I love the English language. I think it's such a beautiful language. Yeah. I was thinking the other day, I think for some weird reason, English is good for music. Like the English language is a beautiful language for singing for some reason, there's a lot of good Chinese performance, but there is a lot of good like English song performance, and I think has something to do with the language, how you pronounce the word,
just how it sounds,
right? And like rap music also sounds a lot better in English.
It sounds super cool. Yeah.
Sounds super cool.
It does.
So I suspect it's the language, and that is something I suspect only if you grow up here in the environment, like only learning this language, you have a chance to kind of master that. You know, like if you live in Asia like me, you know, I came here after after college. There's no way I can do what you do. You know, like when I'm trying to like in my head, I'm still kind of trying to like pick up what you're saying on the first sentence. You're already moving on to the third sentence when you flow. You know, because you are so familiar with the language, right? I just don't have that capacity. Right. So I think there's no good or bad, right or wrong. I mean, I think it's all good, you know. And if my son is talented, maybe he can pick up both plays. I don't know. You know? So it's really up to him. Well, at the end of the day, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at 4 years, he's 4 years older right now.
Yeah,
I think
he just turned 4.
Yeah, I mean, at that age, I think of the back in the days, you know. My parents tried to get me into playing the piano growing up, and you know, just sitting down to practice those keys, I fought it, and they ended up listening to me, right, and just said, okay, you don't have to do it no more. So I ended up doing Boy Scouts and basketball. And you know, looking back, I actually I think to me the instrument of the piano is one of the most beautiful instruments for me. I just love the sound of it. I just love how it's just a beautiful sound. And I look back and I do wish that I ended up, you know, learning it, even though I didn't want to before. And so that's not to say that I can't learn right now. I don't have the wherewithal. Like it's just not a priority now. But, so you know, I think there are certain things like growing up where it would have been cool like if I was just pushed a little more to do it.
So you wish they push you a little bit more
when it comes to probably the piano. You know, like because just going back into even my childhood too. They were my mom. They were both college educated. They went to grad school. So education was really important, especially to my mom. So it was also a quite permissive household. We're middle class household. My mom is a retired kindergarten teacher. My dad is a retired social worker. As probably as middle class as you can get as far as the jobs. My mom really valued. You know, they almost ingrained where I just knew for some reason that I was just going to graduate from college. It didn't even occur to me that I was not going to do that. And so, yeah, it was very, very permissive. They let us kind of like just do what we wanted. But they did something really beautiful. And what they did was they had us in a community center. And that's where we played basketball. We didn't go to church, but our church was basketball games on Sundays. We had practice on Fridays, and then we played basketball games on Sundays. Then on Tuesday nights, we went to Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts back in the day. And it was basically a Japanese-American community center. And back then, like I did like playing basketball. I didn't really care about Boy Scouts. I really hated when there's something called obons. And it's kind of like these festivals that Japanese have to kind of like honor your ancestors. I didn't know that growing up. I just thought it was a festival where you're going to eat chicken and then you're going to play those little carnival games, right?
Good enough.
But then we always had to, because we were part of the community center and it was the basketball team and the Boy Scouts always had a stand that we had to volunteer at, you know? And I really hated waking up in the morning early, you know, on a weekend to do that when something else we could have done, like just, why do we got to do that? But the whole community, we would always do that. We would always come together and do that. And again, you know, sometimes like Steve Jobs says that it's really hard to connect the dots looking forward, especially as a kid when your brain's not fully developed. But now, like as looking back, I'm like, oh my goodness. That experience of being in the community center taught me the value of community service. And you don't do something just because you're going to get $1 back or something, you know? You just, there's something about giving. You know, and one of my favorite, he was just one of my biggest role models when I got into coaching was Tony Robbins. And, you know, he would constantly just say that the secret to living is giving. And one thing that he said, and I printed in my brain, he's like, if you're doing something because a part of you is telling you that you are here to give, then there's a spark that happens in other people when they experience the genuineness in that.
Mm.
And there's a spark that happens inside of you because it reminds you what you're made for.
Wow.
And yeah, when I just think about those days, like it really, my parents taught me the most, not from what they said, but basically like kind of like how they lived. And I've been meditating with my mom over the past 2.5 months. I've been teaching it to her, and
that's
it
freaking
actually
amazing.
Right? It arose out of pretty much a Flowmasters session, which I can talk a little bit more about with my cousin. But it was just the whole idea of, it's a movement that I want to bring into the world. It's called Meditate with Mama, the Meditate with Mama movement. And you know, I just think growing up about my mom and how much of a big heart she has. You know, like she's just constantly like thinking about other people. She doesn't really talk about herself, but she's like, oh, I just got a gift for Auntie Terry. You know, I just bought these gifts. I'm like, who's that for? It's like, I don't know, but maybe, you know, when somebody has a kid, that we can give it to somebody that ends up having it. That I never think like that. I never think, oh, I want to buy something in case somebody needs it. You know, I was like, and I just know she worries a lot. You know, and just about, it was a little more than 6 months ago. She had she had to go into the hospital at Ronald Reagan Hospital at UCLA because she had a heart defibrillator installed because she just had irregular like heartbeats, and ended up getting infected. And it was that was over the summer, and that was really scary, Chu, because like she just kind of nonchalantly said, hey, so it looks like I got to get a surgery, you know, because it got infected, but you know, should be a problem. And then so she went in, and then you know, we ended up waiting to check out, and it turns out what happened was that when they were doing it, one of the leads is like the wires was sparking, and it was getting really close to a part of the lining that became very life-threatening. So they just couldn't like get it completely remove the device, and so they just had to stitch it up. And so she ended up being in the hospital for probably like 10 days.
Wow.
And it was just and she was just getting these weird side effects, you know, like they look like seizures, and she just didn't know why. She could shake and her eyes would roll back, and I'm like, what's going on right here, you know? And this is very interesting, Shu. Like, well, you know, when that happened, I've been, for the longest time, I've been this like new age man of like, express your emotions, you know, just, like share it. And I remember the second time she had that, these like, they're like tremors. And she ended up like throwing up, and she just couldn't even talk. Like, and then my sister was there, and I could just see the terror on my sister's face. And then I could just see my mom. She's like, I don't know what's happening. And I wanted to freak out, you know? But I looked and I'm like, what is that going to do to this situation? That would be me being honest. If I did that, if I was like, what the fuck's happening, right? That would have been very honest. Like, that wouldn't have given anything to the situation, you know? So I had to just remind myself of that, hey, I'm the rock right here. Even if I feel differently, I'm going to be the rock, you know? So I was just like, Mom, you're going to be good. Nurse, come in. Marin, she's okay. Mom, you okay? Nurse. And I held it in, you know? And then I just remember, like, afterwards, she had to go to sleep. And and just in my head, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? I thought that this surgery was just going to be an in and out kind of thing. And I ended up driving home. But I wanted to stay composed when I'm driving home, you know? But when I got back, my cousin's my roommate. So he was actually, I don't know, back home in NorCal. But I just sat on my orange couch after, dude. And I just fucking cried, you know? And I allowed myself to do that. And it felt, and in that moment though, in that moment when I was crying, there was a moment when I didn't laugh, but I smiled. And even though like there was so much uncertainty, like, is my mom gonna be okay? Like, what's gonna happen, you know? I smiled because I'm like, holy shit, with boogers in my face and everything, you know? I was just like, wow. Like, how beautiful is it to care and love somebody so much where I feel like this when I don't know what's gonna happen to them. Like, how much of an honor that is, you know, to love somebody like that. Where it'll bring this kind of, it'll make me feel this kind of way. And, you know, just zooming forward about 7 months later, she still has a device in, you know, she's feeling better. She has to take antibiotics every day, which is not necessarily a good thing in the sense that it's killing healthy cells, right?
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Especially the gut biome.
Yeah, so you might even know more about that.
Yeah.
And yet it's kind of like a catch-22 because they're like, if you remove the antibiotic, that's what's preventing the infection from developing. And so what they discovered was there was 2 ways to deal with it if it had to be removed. And one was actually coming up through the leg. But because arteries have grown and like got so attached to it, that is just very high risk and so low probability that they'll be able to remove it that way. And then the second choice, of course, is going to be open heart surgery. And, you know, my mom is really like, by all means, I don't want to have to do an open heart surgery unless it's absolutely necessary. So I don't know, I forgot when she's due to check up, but, you know, it was that kind of moment that was like, man, I dropped everything to be with her. I was there every single day, you know, at a certain point. And my brother, my sister, and my older sister, I have an older sister who's 35, I'm 32. My brother's 29. And we just took shifts, you know, like, and sometimes we'd be there together, but we always made sure that one of us was always there. And it's not really any testament to us. I just think in terms of, you know, really pay homage to those who dug the well before us. And it's a magical saying. It's funny because you're like, you know, sometimes getting tattoos is taken out of context. This is me totally badgering this term, but because it's typically said before you eat, and it's called itadakimasu. And I Googled it, and Google, you know, my buddy Google says the direct translation means to humbly receive. But this reverend at my grandfather's memorial service, shortly after I got back from Japan, said, you know, the way that I interpret it is that itadakimasu means thank you for everything that it took to make this happen. You know, so I just think of like how we showed up for my mom during that time, and it's really a testament to, you know, to my parents and just the how much that they really given to us that would have us show up in that way, you know. And as I'm aging, I feel like I'm growing in confidence, and yet it's kind of interesting because I'm also realizing how much I don't know, and how much everything that I've developed over the years, it's not just on my own power. It came from so many generations that came before, and that keeps me humble.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that beautiful story. And I would love to hear a little bit more about your project of meditate with Mama.
Yeah.
But I wanna say something.
Absolutely.
Before we move there, because I was very much touched by number one, your love for your mom, you know, and also the way you show it. It's mature, you know. It's mature. It's masculine, and you kind of transform your emotion beautifully into from fear to love, you know, and that's amazing, you know. I'm kind of recently I've been kind of like too two of my guests told me about this book, Letting Go.
Never read it. Yeah.
You read it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. So I've been kind of listening to this book, and the author is saying that with emotion, there are different kind of emotion, right? Like high frequency emotion, like enlightenment, and the lowest is probably guilt and shame, right? Like very low vibration. And when people have like a negative emotion, there are ways you can deal with it. You can express it, you can repress it, you can suppress it, or you can escape it, right? And he said typically people think if you express your emotion, things will get better. He said, well, but I'm not trying to butcher his word, but what he's saying is that if you're in the middle of an emotion and if you express it, at that moment you have a little bit of release, but in reality you actually will suppress a big chunk of it because the way I kind of relate back to myself, like when was the last time I was like angry and I really expressed it to the people I love and it end well, right? Like I'll end up with more negative emotion. Now not only I'm angry, I feel ashamed and guilty, right? And then I don't get to really deal with that anger because now I'm surrounded by even more low frequency emotion, So that's how I see it. But you made the decision that I'm not gonna just freely express my emotion like a little kid, right?
Yeah.
But you chose a very mature way to do it and being there for her. You didn't make it about you. You made it about her.
Right.
Right. But on the way home, you quickly and easily transform into a higher frequency of emotion. That's a very mature way of doing things. Because I can see a lot of people would go home and indulge in that emotion and don't want to get out, and just stay there. But you made it look so easy.
I really thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah.
I really attest a lot of to the work that we do, the men's work that we do as well. And I think that there's something very important around having containers for emotions to be expressed. And there's so.
Yeah. So meditate with Mama. How do you want to introduce this program to the world? Number one, tell us how you do it with your mom.
How I do it with my mom is that it all takes place over the phone, right? Even though she lives like 15 minutes away, I was thinking, what is the way that we can do it, and also what's a way that can be replicated if a son and daughter lives kind of far away from their mothers, and what I was also thinking was that mothers are they can hold so much for us. They literally held us in their tummies, right?
Oh, yeah.
Growing up, and look how many people are in the world now. Billions of people that came out of mothers' wombs. And so like mothers give birth to humanity. And so when I was thinking of like, what does really Meditate with Mama represent? Is it about the mamas? It's like, yeah, it is. But even bigger, it's about uplifting humanity.
Oh yeah.
When we can
that context.
Yeah, when we can really help breathe life into our mothers, we're breathing life back into humanity. And so how it started was I just shared the idea to my mom the day before I took this sacred plant medicine in Joshua Tree. It just occurred to me. It was like an insight inside of Flowmasters. I was just like, oh my God, Connor, my cousin, like, I want to start meditating with a mom. I want to make this a movement, but I realized I have to start it at ground zero, which is with my mom. So I can do proof of concept. And then she's going to be the testimonial.
she's a prototype.
Yeah, she is. So I just shared it with her. I called her immediately and just said, this is what I want to do. Are you down? And she was kind of like, we could talk about it. I don't know. There was hesitation.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Right?
It is weird. Like, what is this?
Yeah, what is this?
What is meditation? She didn't know. She's never done it before. I don't got time for that. That came up a lot. And so, I don't know, like we did it one time, and then there was a lot of distractions. She, it was kind of like a whatever experience for her. And then we yeah. And then, we actually were shooting for Monday to Thursday, 9 a.m. I was going to call her, but then I would get text messages being like, oh, I have an acupuncture appointment, or hey, I can't do it. I want to sleep. So the first 3 weeks were like, it was messy, and so I don't know. I don't remember like how we got back on track. I remember one time we did it, and during the meditation, it's very fluid, but I always start off with the box breathing. And so I taught her the box breathing. I brought her a little bit about like really what happens. You breathe in the box. Let's sigh out. When you sigh out, it'll promote a deeper sense of relaxation. And we just started building up from there. And I would always ask for feedback from her. How do you feel after? Or what's your experience in 3 words? There's always that box breathing piece. And I found out later that she's a visual learner. So she would see colors. And so then I would start using that as an anchor point of like, what, you can just start thinking about, see that color, and what does that color really represent to you? And then when we started doing that, I started appealing to her, right? Like what resonates with her, and that's where she's really starting to enjoy it. So, but it starts with the box breathing, and now, we usually do about 15 to 20 box breaths now, followed by some type of visualization experience, like on her birthday, which was on Wednesday.
Wow.
It was Wednesday.
What, 2 days ago?
2 days ago, February 12th. I think that's Abraham Lincoln's birthday. She just turned 70.
Wow. Congratulations, Masumiya's mom.
Yes. So, Mama, you're gonna hear this. I'm gonna share this podcast with you so you can watch it. And I wanted to just give you a shout out.
Happy
I love
birthday.
you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Mom.
You got a great son.
It's been such an amazing experience, man. Like, after we do the meditation, I'll like open up, and I usually will, just say, slowly start to wiggle your toes around, imagining that gets a slow moving ocean wave that's synchronizing with your breath. Just start to allow it to just overcome your fingers, just roll it around. And then roll your shoulders back, right? Just getting her back in touch with her body. And then I just allow her to kind of like go, to kind of ease out, will open your eyes and just being like, just knowing that for this formal kind of meditation is just as important how we come out of it. Because this is where we spend most of our time, is in this visual realm when we're not sleeping, this realm right here. So, just look around the room and see if you can start to just notice something that you've never quite noticed before. Maybe it's a crack on the ceiling. And just teaching about just slowing down. And it's really cool just because thereafter, some of the conversations came up about like my auntie, which was her sister, who died of pancreatic cancer when I was in 6th grade. And that was her best friend, And then 2 years after, my grandma, her mom, contracted the pancreatic cancer. And I think she already had it, but then the stress predisposed her to it. And then it triggered it. And it was so far along that they just were like 2 to 3 years apart. And her sister, her best friend, and her mom just died like that. And, out of the meditations, he's like, I realized like I didn't really get the chance to kind of mourn for them. It's just like life went on. And, she's like, yeah, in hindsight, I kind of wish that I went to see a therapist, or I gave myself the time to deal with that. And so that there's unraveling that comes in these meditations where the images of them come up a lot. And I think that's beautiful,
Yeah.
Even though it's emotional and sometimes it doesn't feel good, it's like she's actually allowing herself to to be with that. And it's so great to be with that with her. So it's been one of the most, seriously, like one of the most gratifying things in my life to share this with her, and is breathing life back into her.
Wow. Man, that's amazing.
So
that outstanding, man, for doing this. You know, like number one, I know a lot of people doing like master plans, and they came out with a lot of good ideas, but they don't follow through. But you did, you know, and this is not easy, because I bet at the time it feels like fucking amazing, right? But afterwards, it's like, okay, how do I do this? How do I execute this? Right? It's not that simple, right? You gotta overcome your own barriers to. I bet there's a little barrier, big or small, to call your mom and say, "Hey, let's do this," and she has to overcome her barriers,
right?
And you have to keep enrolling her. You know, like from my observation, you know, like old people, like my parents, they behave like little kids. You know, the excuse they come up with is like, man, that's like my son. It's like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's, you know, people are not that different, you know, like however they find excuse as a little kid, now they're using the same pattern, you know.
Yeah.
But, and you have to keep enrolling her into doing it, and now you actually got her into like a little
groove that she's found,
you know, and that's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's how many sons get to give that gift to their mom, and how many mom get to do that with their son. I bet she's fucking loving it, you know, because oh my God.
You know what I love about it too, man?
Yeah.
Like our hugs are different now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it was like in your household, but then touch was not really a thing, you know? Like just words of affirmation, just like, hey, son, doing a good, like, they didn't mean not, they just showed love in different ways, you know? My mom showed love as in, you know, like speaking of the love languages. Physical gifts is one really taught for her. And for those of you who don't know, it's Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages. And it basically just, he says that, you know, there's 5 of them, you know, quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, physical gifts, and there's physical touch. But then there's 2 of them that just stands out, that's more important to us. And for me, it's words of affirmation and physical touch, like very clear to me. And now, you know, there's just through this little team that we created together, you know, my mom, like, you know, she even just, you know, for Valentine's Day, she just said, she did a group thread to my sister and my brother and me, and she sent one of those gifts, a little dog or something, and she just said, like, you know, have a lovely Valentine's Day, y'all, you know? And then, and so it's like, you know, just like these little encouraging, like, little things, she said this on her birthday, man. She said, make sure that you have a golden day today, you know? And then when I hug her, it's just like this little more of like it's a little tighter. It's a little tighter squeeze that versus this little, you know, like this little pat on the back, like, hey, that little love tap.
Okay, you can go now.
Yeah.
That kind of.
And so it is. It is just a beautiful just evolution, and all we're doing, man. You know, kind of like what we did before this podcast is creating this ceremony with this fire. You hear the crackling, but it's like, it's just finding ways to create ceremony, you know? And for us together on the phone, it's like, it's turning breath into a ceremony, you know? And, you know, even we did the sage right before this, we're burning dried, is it a leaf? It's a leaf, right?
Yeah,
sage?
it's a leaf of California white sage.
Yeah. So it's a California white sage. It's these dried leaves. You burn it, right? And we're turning these dried leaves, burning it into a ceremony with these leaves. And I think that's such a beautiful, almost like a profound thing on like, how can I create more ceremony in my day? whether it's drinking water or food, which is something that I'm learning because I eat so fast that I don't really take the time, even though I say itadakimasu. But how can I create more ceremony in my day? And one of them has been meditate with mama. So any listeners out there, if you're listening with this, and you're open, like, you can go and start the movement. And maybe what that looks like is starting it for yourself. If you don't have a little practice, whatever that looks like. We did buy I did buy meditatewithmama.com. And it's under construction. So I do definitely plan to.
What would you like to show on the website?
That's really a good question, man. I was actually talking to my mom about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Mom, would you be interested in actually creating a course together? Because I think that'd be really cool where I can appeal to like the sons and the daughters, and then your perspective can really appeal to the mothers for sure. And she's been giving me a lot of different tips, make sure that some mothers will have a lot of reservation. And so you just want to start really simple with like maybe 2 box breaths. You get on the phone and just take 2 box breaths together. It's like even like less, a minute and a half, and that's it. And some of the, for me, like I'm really fascinated with how to create sustainable change. So, how habits, in developing habits, it's said that like frequency is more important than duration. And so like if you just develop the habit of, okay, we're going to do this Monday to Thursday for 1 minute at 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. You're basically training your nervous system and your body for that period. And I think it's Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton's the founder of epigenetics. They really study basically like the biology of thought, how thought actually shows up in a scientific way. And they say basically habits are when your body understands faster than your mind does. And so frequency is more important than duration when building it. So start really small.
I like that. Yeah. That's a good way for me to remember when I want to start something. Frequency is more important. Like, for example, if I want to start doing like pull-ups, right? It's probably more beneficial if I do like 1 a day, but I do it for 100 days. And I try to do 100 of them and give up after a day. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Because if I can do 100 days and I have like there's momentum, then I get to keep building.
You keep building, like,
right? I can do 2 and 3 and 4, but because I do it every day now, there is opportunity to advance to the next.
And your body's understanding faster. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, I mean, what a great thing, like that everything, just nothing occurs in isolation kind of thing, is because I realized for me, my sister would say, oh, it's because you're Gemini. You get really excited about certain kinds of things. And I just realized like sometimes I get really excited about things and then it kind of wanes after a while. Mm-hmm. It's just like I get really excited about, let's just say this meditate with mom movement. Mm-hmm. I've only done it for 3 months. So I'm just humble enough to know like, okay, Gavin, like if you really believe in this, like then like turn this into a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And I know it's because I'm just aware of certain kind of patterns that I have, and I'm not here to project a future that's based on my past. That's just, oh yeah, Gavin, it's just a phase. You're just going to stop it eventually, Oh, New Year's is coming. New Year's is coming around the way. There's going to be this thing of where you're going to have all this food, and then you're going to stop working out, That's happened every the past 12 summers. It's during those times, just even with the work that we do, it's just really, what is this purpose? Reminding, I'm here to uplift humanity through Meditate with Mama. Every time I get on that call, Monday at 9 o'clock, Tuesday at 8, Wednesday at 9, Thursday at 9, it's to uplift humanity, and it starts from ground zero, And so changing the world like...
I have a lot of respect for you for doing that with your mom, man. And I think one of the key is you kind of have to be your own man to, you have to kind of be a grown-up to do that. You can't be like still attached to mom like a little kid. And to offer that such a great service to your mom. Like yes, everyone loves. I mean, yes, you love your mom. That's maybe that never changed, but it's the way. Now you're grown up. You love her like a man, and now you're offering this gift to her. Yeah, you're kind of offering this to her, and I think it will be pretty impossible for a man who haven't kind of grown out of that phase to do that. And you're only 32, and you already kind of got it, man. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Thank you, man. I definitely I appreciate that. I was about to downplay that. Like I still have a long way to go.
Don't ever fucking downplay.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. It's
yeah. You know what's crazy too? This is really awesome. Was because I shared the Meditate with Mama movement at you might even know like Mikhail, Marisa.
Who's
They're not. Mikhail has done the weekend. Marisa did the women's weekend, but they have something called Ganja Yoga.
Ganja?
Yeah. So they mix ganja and yoga. And speaking of ceremony, right? Like this is which is so fascinating. Like, I mean, we're just in such a progressive place in Los Angeles. Like, there's so many different things. I'm like up to some weird shit. I'm up to weird shit, yo, too. But basically over there, I shared about the Meditate with Mom movement, and then they had me come the next time because they're like, "That's awesome. Can you guide us through a meditation and just share about like the origin of it and what it means to you?" And so they did it where they offered it where it's free. It's typically $33, but they said it's going to be free for the mothers that come. And there ended up it was very intimate. It was like 12 to 14 of us, and 3 of them were mothers.
Wow.
And so I talked about like the origin, about it's uplifting humanity really underneath it all. And it starts with those who've given birth, to us. And it's our mothers. And so I put them through box breathing, and then I did the same thing that I did with my mom earlier that morning. And so I said, as you're just like breathing in through your nose and sighing out through your mouth at your own gentle, tender pace, what's a moment in your life where you experience a deep sense of joy? Breathe into that. Allow it to organically come up. Who was there? What did you smell though? How did you really feel? Really engage your senses. Then I had them come out of the meditation, and I didn't bring it up because we went into the Ganja Yoga and that whole thing. But then I wanted things to go full circle, so I just said, "Hey, Marisa, can I actually share something here?" I'm like, remembering that question that I shared at the beginning around, like, do you remember that memory of joy? I'd like for you to just bring that up to mind again. And for the 3 mothers out here, if you have it in you, like, what memory came up for you? And this one mother, she's she's basically a sansei. She's a 3rd generation Japanese American. She's 68. My mom's 7. Like, it just so lined up. And this lady, Brittany, aka I think her name's Shakti, her spiritual name. She brought her mom there, and so the mom was saying, "So this is my daughter, Brittany, or Shakti, however you guys call her. I'm so proud of her. She's, she's a little out there, I admit. There's times where I didn't really understand her, but one thing that I so admire about her is that she didn't let us really define her, or she didn't allow herself to get boxed in. She really created herself, even when other people might have thought that differently about her or formed an opinion, which I'm guilty of. I'm really proud of her. And she comes and she just gives these warm embraces every time she sees me. Even when I don't want the hug, she just hugs me and she embraces me. And she does it every single time, and she's genuinely interested in me. And she talks about gratitude, which is so important. And I'm so just grateful. And Brittany next to her, she was just like holding her heart, and her just tears were streaming down her face, and it was like there's something about the power of breath, man. When we slow down our breath, and then it allows us to even recall those happy moments of the past, you know, or whatever that intention it could be. It could be joy, it could be play, it could be fun, it could be sexiness, whatever it is. And it's called an emotional flood. It's a way of actually, a lot of times, by default, we might look at the past in a way of looking at the traumas or the complaints or the things that we wish didn't happen, when actually the past is also a great way to help us propel us forward, and not just seeing in terms of post-traumatic growth, which is what my former coach would say, using trauma to actually pull us forward, but also with recalling those happy moments, you know, of the past to help us fuel that experience now and bring that and channel that forward. And, you know, just through the breathing and that simple thing of recalling a moment of joy, it created such a beautiful connection that we were able to share, not just them two, which was amazing, like all of us were able to experience with them. And so, yeah, I do like kind of envision when it comes to meditating with Mama, like maybe in a philanthropic way to like hold these little meditate with Mama circles. And the daughters or the sons, they come with their moms, and then I just kind of like facilitate it. And I bring one of those little emotional flood exercises, and they can share, and and they can share their experiences. And by that, we come together and slowly, but each circle starts to uplift the spirit of humanity.
Fucking do it, man. Fucking do it, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. This is a fucking great cause. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. I fucking love it. Yeah.
I didn't expect that this was going to be about Meditate with Mama, but it is very dear to my heart, and yeah.
Hell yeah, man. I love it. You got to start doing this, man. This is, don't wait. Yeah, you don't need a website. You know.
You're right.
Just call a few people, just get 3 pairs and
I was thinking of my friend Kevin Imada and his mom, and then my friend Blake and his mom, and not putting their lives on blast or anything. We just known each other for a really long time, you know. And so I shared that with my mom. She's like, well, you know what? I think that like Sandy's starting to seek counsel for her stuff that she got going on. So like, I think that we should just let her do it. In my head, I'm like, this would actually complement it really well. But you know, it's about also communicating in a way that would, you know, that they're enrolled or that they get it for themselves.
Right.
You know,
and I think with your context, it will be the children enrolling the mom, right? Because if it's mom enrolling the children, it's not within your context.
Right.
Because it's really giving back to mom.
So it's really
Giving
going
back.
into my 2 friends,
Right.
and enrolling them into that possibility with
Right.
this context, which is a badass global context. Is them inspiring them, because honestly, I don't know if they meditate, right? So it's kind of like taking it back to ground zero. I've been meditating on and off, you know, for the past 11 years, and it was only kind of in the past 2.5 years that I've really been taking on this like box breathing. And it's just so simple, man. I just do it when I'm waiting in line at Trader Joe's at the cashier, and you could do it at any point in time. And so, you know, So in other words, it is about going into to the children of the mothers, right?
Yeah.
And enrolling them to enroll their mothers in this possibility. It's very good. That's good. That actually makes it more clear.
Yeah.
For sure. That does.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Just keep it simple, man.
Yeah. Well, because you kind of laid out the context. So you got to follow your context and go outside that, because that's a beautiful, strong, powerful, you know, attitude you're holding regarding this. Yeah, just post it on Facebook and start enrolling people.
Yep.
It's like, hey, I'm offering this. Meditate with Mama. It's the best gift one can give to your mom.
That's so good. Just to do it, I guess, on Facebook Live.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
or a post, you know.
Yeah, totally.
I realized that, like, I love listening to podcasts and audibles, and one of my friend, she actually messaged me, and she's like, you know, like, I'm more of a visual person.
Yeah.
So if you ever translated this into like text, I'll read it up. Like, for me, in my head, it's like, holy shit, if I translate this into text, I'll never even fucking read it. You know?
Right. It is catering to the different modalities.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
yeah.
so-
The different
so-
learning modalities. Yeah.
So both, you know, you gotta do video, and you can just, because writing is cool too. You know, just there's it's powerful. Writing is powerful.
Sure.
So do both, and just say, hey, this is great gift. Bring your mom, and you know, or bring yourself, and do a couple times, and you can bring your mom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Man.
Yeah. Speaking of that, yeah, actually, I am definitely thinking of ways of how can I repurpose with video, right? I love videos. I watch videos with video. With video, you can take it and then you can strip it down to the audio form, which just recently my friend and I, we have this podcast called 9 to 5 with Gavin and Mike. And it's essentially short, sharp, sweet snippets of insight for anybody hustling a 9 to 5. They're very short. You can do it on your lunch break. You can do it on your way to work or on your way back, 7 to 15 minutes. We started off as a YouTube video, and then we ended up, you know, saving it, converting it into MP3, and we just 2 days ago just uploaded the first 15 onto Spotify.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you do directly to Spotify? Or do you have to go to Apple first and then?
No, so how we're doing it through this company called Red Circle. My friend Oliver works for it, and they basically allow you to host it. And then through that, we have it going to Spotify and Apple right now. But you can also do it through Stitcher, and they have a few other platforms I never even heard about. But yeah, we're just more interested in Spotify and Apple.
I see. Yeah, me too. Like,
Yeah.
well, my 12 Summer is on Google Play
Oh, cool. Okay.
and Apple, of course, because it's really originated from Apple, right? Podcast is really from Apple.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Spotify. Yeah, I'm not putting out any other
Yeah.
platform.
I don't really think you need to. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually really like Spotify. If you do Apple Podcasts, it doesn't really show the episode art.
Oh.
But Spotify, you can actually see the picture of the guest. You know, it will be on Spotify.
That's actually true, man. That's great because it's so interesting because I actually listen to most of my podcasts off of Apple, and that alone, you just enrolled me to make my way over to Spotify to listen to my podcast. You just did right there.
And the when it renew the content, it's, I don't know, it's like if I'm like say changing my text, Spotify actually get changed sooner than Apple for some weird reason.
We've been realizing that too in creating the accounts and stuff. There's so many more of like steps that it takes in order to get it onto Apple. But, I already listen to my music on Spotify, man, and it's like, well, yeah, why am I not listening to my podcast on Spotify? It just goes to show like habits.
Right.
How sometimes you're just doing it and then without really knowing like, whoa, actually there's a better way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Spotify, man. It just, the music on there is so good.
Yeah. My one thing about it, which is understandable, is like it takes me down a rabbit hole where it only shows what I like. So you know what I mean? So if you ever go on the Discover Weekly, you know, like it has the algorithm for like whenever you favorite certain things. So it's always a similar kind of sound.
Right.
That I have to actively go into other like playlists just to hear a new sound, because otherwise I'm just going to hear the sound and I get sick of what I like because they're so spot on.
I totally get you. Totally get you.
Yeah.
That's why you need friends. Well, because
Yeah.
you can share playlists, right?
You
Like
could. You
I
could.
asked, like, I got Stone's playlist, I got Gendra's playlist, and they sound totally different, right?
Right,
And they're
right.
all good, you know.
I like Stone's vibes. We have
Yeah.
similar vibes, so I think I
Yeah.
need somebody else's that's a little more versatile and different from mine. Hey, let's swap each other's.
Okay, we'll do that offline.
Yeah, totally.
We'll kind of exchange our playlist.
Yeah.
I have some good stuff.
Oh,
in
cool.
my opinion.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate this, man, because you're definitely somebody that I see as a how would I say this? You're very humble. It's like it's very humble and grounded presence about you that can easily kind of like, if nobody knows you, can easily kind of be in the background of things. And yet when you speak, it has this stoic tonality to it, right? Like just sometimes you may not say hear or feel like that emotion because it just your vocal it doesn't necessarily portray that. It's just very grounded, and it's like you never say more than you need to, and it's very well thought out. You know, it's kind of like my great auntie Yuki, who's turning 104.
Wow.
Yeah, she's she has just different things that she says that through the years I was able to kind of like pull out of her. And one is like, you know, never take the anger out on another person. Never say more than you need to, you know? Whereas my auntie Hiroe, who I call Queen Snack Lady, she's turning 103.
Wow.
Yeah, they're a year apart, but they're worlds apart.
Mm-hmm.
And they live nearly just 20 feet away because I live in a family-owned apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
I live where my grandma used to live, like talking about like those who dug the well before me. And then my neighbors is my 103-year-old Auntie Yuki. And then right below me is my Auntie Hiroye. And so I'm like so blessed. I get to see them every day.
Wow.
And they're literally 20 feet apart. But you know what? Like, they don't like each other. They don't talk to each other.
103-year-old and like 104-year-old.
They don't. And it's funny, and at the same time, it's sad because they're only 20 feet apart, you know? They're only 20 feet apart, but like they just hate each other's guts. It's like so. But, you know, like, this is so interesting because this podcast, like today, is really revealing how much my family means to me, you know? Like this whole podcast is about my family. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely want to share with my parents and my family. But this is a very interesting time for my aunties because my auntie Yuki, she's kind of, it's not diagnosed or anything. It's just her memory's going, you know, and her legs are going. And one of the things that she said for a while is like, you know, once my legs give out on me, there's no reason for me to be here, you know, because she was so strong, and her legs represents her sense of independence. And my brother is amazing. Like he's been going there 7 days a week, every day, like pretty much full-time job is for the family. He just took it upon himself to self-sacrifice for them. And that even though like with that, my auntie, you know, sometimes they won't see the amount of work that he puts into them because, you know, the law of familiarity, like whatever you kind of grow accustomed to things. If you don't check yourself, it's easier to get accustomed to those things. And my auntie Yuki kind of sees it as a way of, because she's getting help, right? Because she's getting help, that she's not as independent as she is. And that sense of independence was a part of her worth, you know? So that's just the psychology of her, is independence equals kind of like her value as a human, or and so she's kind of like lacking that purpose, and it's killing her. Like, you know, she's just there's no life to her. Whereas Queen Snack Lady downstairs, I freaking like I want to argue with her a lot because we just have so many different kinds of views, but I just know it's not going to make a difference, you know? So, you know, she's like, people, why do white people like hate on Trump? He's not a politician and politicians are liars. And like, oh, people are trying to kill Trump again. She just has the same different type of records that go on. And one thing that I do respect so much about her is that sense of, she has like a reasons to live. Like she takes a stand for something, you know? And even if I don't agree, like I can appreciate people that just take a stand for something. And I did ask her, you know, I asked them, I always ask them because it's like, I don't know too many 100-year-olds and plus, right? Let alone my family. They're the only ones. And I say like, aunties, what is the recipe for a long life? Tell me. And they'll say different ones. I'll share some of them. But downstairs, my auntie Hiroy, Queen Snack Lady, one at a time, she's like, eat Japanese food. You have to eat Japanese food.
I agree.
You know, like well-rounded, have your vegetables, have your carbs, have your meat, and a little bit of everything. It's quality over quantity, Gavin. That was the one time, right? And another time she said, get angry. You like have something that what else did she say? She's like, you have to be interested in something. And that's all she said. You have to be interested in something. And it's so interesting because I look at, and what she's interested in actually drives me crazy, yet she strongly attests that that's a part of what keeps her alive. It's watching Fox News, it's watching these different things that keeps her mind engaged, and it keeps her, like, it helps to give her a sense of something to look forward to. Whereas upstairs, my Auntie Yuki, who's so humble, who's amazing, who doesn't speak more than she needs to, and all these beautiful qualities, is lacking that sense of interest in life. And it just, one great saying is kind of like, everyone can be used as both an example and as a warning. And I've taken examples and warnings in all of them. And like, one thing is just like, that sense of, what are you fighting for? What drives you? What are you so interested in? And even if you don't turn it into anything necessarily, like, it doesn't have to stop you from the pursuit of just like having that in your life and scheduling that in your life. And so why I'm bringing this up, it's a long-winded form, is they're getting plumbing done downstairs at my Auntie Hiroya's, and what we're going to end up doing within the next week is moving my Auntie Yuki downstairs, which they're actually open to now, but there's a reservation because it's like, I don't like her. You know, I don't like her. And we're like, well, one thing that she always says, my Auntie Yuki, is like, the good old days are all gone. The ship has sailed, it passed, you know? And so like, no matter what, like my brother and me and even my mom, we're a part of a different generation. We can't relate. And she's just like, all my friends have died. All the people that I cared about have died, you know, that are my age, that know that time in my life, you know, when things were different. And my auntie, so we're thinking that by moving her downstairs, it's easier for her to actually go outside because she doesn't have to go down the stairs, for one. And it's also like she can be with somebody who's been there, you know, like in that time. They can remember World War II. They can remember Manzanar. They can remember being in that house that they grew up in. And even though they didn't like each other, they can share that in a way that we never can, you know? And so that's our intention, that maybe that'll give her a little bit of sense of life and purpose back into them, you know? And even if she gets angry, like, that could be a good thing. Right. Rather than being apathetic, you know?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Totally. Actually, it's from the same book.
Letting Go.
Letting Go. Because he spent a lot of time talking about different emotions. And apathy is hard to get rid of. Right?
Right.
Like, apathy, basically, you just don't feel anything.
Right.
Right? And he was saying, like, fear is better than apathy in the scale of emotions, and anger is actually better than a lot of emotion. And once you have anger, it's easy to get into courage. Yeah. And when you have courage, you get to move up to other more positive emotions. So anger is actually can be a very positive thing, as long as someone doesn't get indulging in anger and or use anger
Yes.
to as a destructive mechanism or go down the ladder.
Yes.
You know.
Totally.
But you hit. You know, you said it right, man. Anger is a lot better than empathy.
Yeah. It's like, you know, even in the coaching modality that I got trained and developed in, we call it, one is level 1, and level 1 is pretty much, for lack of a better term, it's called the victim. And if it was looked at in the form of a game, it's like, well, no matter what I do, I lose. No matter what, I lose. And the very lowest part of level 1 is apathy, and that's like learned helplessness, right? And that's where it's like, why even try?
Yeah.
Like, why even try? The next level is level 2. That's called the fighter. And in the game of life, that's like, I want to make sure I win and you lose. Now, the core emotion behind level 2 is anger. Now, anger is very fiery, and it doesn't necessarily always mean that it's going to be externally expressed. So under this modality, it's that it's an internal, it requires a sense of self-awareness, because there's people that can still feel that level 2 inside, but they'll hold their tongue and they'll be like, I'll do it. I will. But inside it's like, I want to bite your face off, but I'll do it. And usually that leads to eventually at a certain point, if they don't have a release valve in their life, and that release valve can look like anything. It could look like they're taking boxing classes on weekends. They talk to their friends. They have a men's team that they go to and they express it, like whatever that is. They don't have that. It blows over and then erupts. And then it just, you never do that. All these different things. But one of the pros and cons the pro on the side is that because it's a kind of fiery emotion, that it can bring someone into action.
Yeah.
And now whether they deem it as a detrimental action or this, that, and the fourth, or this, that, and the third, or the fourth that's to the eyes of the book. That's to, you know, that's for them. That's the perspective of it. But it's so much easier to get into action from a place of anger versus apathy.
Yeah. So that's why, you know, because when you're saying that, I was thinking about, you know, my kids and
in what way? Like,
well, like when they get angry, right? When my son gets angry, like he gets angry, right? But it's not like angry is not the problem. It's like I said, the other emotions that comes with anger, right? Like guilt, or he's scared, right? Like he doesn't know how to handle it, right? Or he doesn't know how other people are gonna handle it, right? Are they gonna be pushing him down, right? More, it's like, oh, like you can't be angry, right? Or stop doing that, right? Or that's what he need to deal with. You know, if there's just anger, like I think he knows how to like deal with anger now. You know, like one day, he's like he wasn't even 4 then, and one day he did something, or I said something, or I said something, or my wife said something, and he just refused to talk to me, right? And I say, hey, I said, like, Yuri, are you mad at me? Are you angry at me? And it's like it looks like you don't want to talk to me. Is that because you're angry at me?
right.
And he said, no, Daddy, I'm just angry at myself. I was like, what? How old are you?
Yes.
Like, how old are you? Seriously? Like, why? Like, I don't think at 3 years old I had that distinction.
No, me neither. Oh my goodness.
Right?
Wow.
And there will be times that like he's really pissed because most of the time because he want to do something and we say you can't do it, you know, because or you can't eat this, you can't touch that. He get angry, he get pissed, and we want to engage, and he's like, and he just run and roll himself in the curtain, you know, like he'll hide behind the drapes. And like after 2 minutes, he come out like, okay, I'm okay now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's like shit. I don't think when I was 3 or 4 I could do this.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
but I think it might have something to do that with we we always give him room to be angry, you know. And from very early on, we help him like label different languages.
Yes.
You know, like he's going through something, and we'll say, "Okay, you're angry now," or he's going through something. It's like, "Okay, you're right now. What you're feeling is frustration. You're frustrated. Repeat after me. I'm frustrated."
Yes.
You know, by giving it a name, a label, all of a sudden become a lot more manageable. You know, and I think that thing works for adult. It's called compassion. When you see someone suffering, you just say, "Hey, it looks like you're suffering."
I think there's something even deeper underneath that. It's like there's a label, right? That like I am angry, and I think there's something more than that. It's you and your wife have created a space where it seems to me, you can call bullshit on this, where when he gets angry, like and him to label it, that it's okay.
Yes,
it's okay to be angry. And I recently, like in the past year, I did a one-off session with this person, and then I was basically just coaching her around a particular situation, and I allowed her the space. I said, you know, like, I'm gonna set a timer for 3 minutes, and I want you to just be angry about the situation. Tell me, complain about it. There's no sense of like you're being a victim. You just let it out. Let it out. And I'm gonna actually increase it. And every time I raise the number, like 7, 8, that means that you're gonna increase the intensity and you're just going to get more angry. And so I wanted to help you, guide you through getting angry, okay? And then at the end of it, we did about two different trial sessions of it, right? And then after the second one, she's like, I just said, just check in with yourself. Like, how angry are you? She's like, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, and 10 being really angry. She's like, I forgot what she said. She's like, I'm like at a 2. I feel really neutral now.
Yeah.
And then she said this. She's like, wow. You know that you're the first person that I can remember who made me feel like me being angry is okay.
Yes.
And you teaching your son that at 4 years old is such a strong foundation.
Yeah, our conversation kind of reminds me the importance of that, because you put it into the context of the emotional vibration chart. Like, if someone doesn't have the ability to access anger in a secure and safe way, man, we are really losing out on a big, important part of life. You don't have access. Basically, the road is blocked. Like, when you fall under and go to a shitty emotion, like you lost something, someone broke up with you, and if that emotion is, you don't have access to anger, it will make it a lot harder to get out. You know? Actually, any emotions, you know, like jealousy is a difficult one for me to deal with when I was younger. Even now, like if someone says, "Are you jealous of that?" I'll feel ashamed, right? And I remember when my daughter was born, and my son already stopped like drinking from the bottle because he was already 3. And now she see little sister drinking from the bottle, like she's like, I want that, right? And she saw us like running around buying stuff, like buying formula for not buying formula, buying a baby bottle for little sister. And all of a sudden he wanna drink with the baby bottle. And like no one can stop him. Like, we're on the way to lunch and no one can talk him out of it. You know, he's like, no, I want it right now. So I stopped him. It's like, oh, what's going on? So I check in with him. It's like, hey, are you I said, are you jealous of your little sister? And I said, jealous is when someone have it and you don't like it, and that's when you are jealous. Are you jealous? He's like, yes, I'm jealous. And once he said that, we're out for lunch. No more baby bottle. Like he's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm jealous. That's it.
Yeah.
There's not good or bad. I'm just jealous.
Just
Yeah.
jealous.
Yes.
Yes.
I would be too. Like if
Yeah.
if I used to get all the attention now and I'm only getting 30% of the
Yeah.
attention, it seems like I'm only getting 30% of the attention, I'll be jealous. But it's okay.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and yeah, it's an important thing. It's one thing we can do for our kids as parents, just for them to be okay with a lot of stuff. It's not good or bad, you know. It's just a human experience, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad we kind of talk about the other piece, which is like, okay, the transition between different emotion. Right?
Yeah.
At the bottom, which is like empathy.
And you know how like I was trying to go about it, is like when somebody's learning these, right? Because there's basically there's 7 different levels that we have it, and it's basically you have the victim, the fighter, and then level 3 is called the rationalizer. Then we have the caregiver, the opportunist, the visionary, and the creator, right? And so there's desire, right? Like the shortcut, like there's just this, especially for younger generations, and myself, I'm guilty of it, of wanting to I want to get here though. I want to get to the level 7, of course, even level 5. I want to become the opportunist, where I see an opportunity in everything, like Thomas Edison, when all of his experiments were not losses, they just did not end up creating the light bulb. You know, it just did end up creating the light bulb, and it ended up forming so many other patents. There were opportunities, but they say as you're going up these levels, if you're at level 1, you don't jump from level 1 to level 5. You get to level 2, and so if you're going from apathy, like allow yourself to get angry. Don't try to even get to the rationalizer and rationalize. Get angry. Get angry, and it's really powerful. I did it with us. I do this assessment. It's more of an attitudinal assessment versus personality. It's called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment that assesses people on these 7 levels based on where they are. And what's different than a personality assessment like a Myers-Briggs or a DISC profile is that basically kind of is like a personality. So based on your responses that you have, this is basically something where you want to and within this paradigm now, you fit. You fit into here now. Do the best you can with this. More or less, it's not really going to change. It might change a little bit. That's awesome. I mean, I think that's necessary. That just isn't what this assessment is, which is more of like a snapshot of where you are energetically based on where you are in your life. And when you do some of the work, you can go back to it, take it again, and then you can see how you progress over it. It is about like, and so one person that I did it with, there's a lot of level 3. And level 3 is the rationalizer. And so the rationalizer in a game is, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. And if you could win too, that's cool. It's still to secure the win for yourself. And so basically it's called a rationalizer because this is where we start to get in what we call anabolic energy. And anabolic energy, for it just to say like, level 1 and 2 is like catabolic. So it's still like you have to like push. Like there's a sense of pushing. It's when cortisol's released, there's stress. When you start to feel level 3, you start to rationalize it so you can release that kind of energy. So some of the statements can be like, "Oh, my girlfriend's stupid, my husband's stupid. They don't know any better. Like they don't know any better." And it's like that. Oftentimes that kind of statement is just like you want to be able to like not be angry or upset about it, right? So it's just like attaching a reason to it to release it. And some of us can be very good at rationalizing for that. And what I found with this particular person was that there wasn't a lot of level 2. There wasn't a lot of like anger that she was feeling. Nothing was wrong. It was just like, it just like tickled my curiosity.
Everything was rationalized.
Yes. Yes.
There's no reason for me to get angry even though I might be angry.
Yes.
But there's no reason for me to
It's
get
so
angry.
quick to jump to the level 3, and it doesn't mean anything wrong. It's just like, oh, that's interesting that there isn't in there. It's just exploring it, and there actually was a lot of anger underneath it.
Right.
That was just rationalized, and it wasn't processed. It was a quick surface kind of thing, like, yeah, no, but they just don't know any better, though.
Yeah.
You know, but like, what are you really upset about? Like, what really upset you about that is just like, I didn't feel like I was heard. I didn't feel like I was being understood in that moment. And I was like, they should have known better. And it's like, you're feeling this? You're feeling this? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, just acknowledge that it's there. Yeah. You don't have to rationalize to push it away.
Yeah.
It's just there. It's okay. Yeah. Yeah, you get angry. And so, like, one thing that I've been learning with, like, the work that we do and just in my life, it's like, the importance of having anger containers. Of having a time, like a safe space where you allow yourself to get angry. So for me, it's in the car. When I'm driving, I'll look like a madman. And sometimes, I'm not going to do it right now, but like, I'll just be in the car and I just yell. I yell at the top of my lungs. And then if I'm at like a stop sign or something, then I'll use my, and then I'll make all these contorted faces. And it is so healing. It's like, it's my battle cry. And sometimes I'll just schedule that. Even if I don't feel the anger is, I was just like, maybe there's something I'm not fully seeing. And I'll just do it just to let out what my coach would say. Just the release valve. Just let it out. Even though sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And there could be even anger there if you haven't really dealt it. Like your default is so quick to rationalize at a level 3 to shove it underneath the carpet. And that's, and so, even scheduling it, even when you feel like nothing's there, can really be helpful. So yeah, even when some people are going up the ladder, going up and down is not necessarily a good thing to be at level 3 or a bad thing. It's like, we're dynamic people. Like we experience so much. And by just acknowledging that it's there, and as you said it, neutralizing, like even in the like, I do it by breath, like too, like, yeah, I'm jealous. I'm experiencing jealousy. I'm experiencing jealousy. Where's that showing up in my body? And just really kind of like breathing into that. I might even yawn into it. Yeah, yawning's a good way to kind of is a way of relaxing too. Like, I'm jealous. That's okay. Dude, the breath changes my life, man. The breath changes my life, dude. It's crazy. And
how did you start with the breath work?
You know how it started, man? I was in third year.
And what kind of breath work do you do?
Well, I basically just do the box breathing. My cousin taught me that form of, I don't know if it's like holotropic breathing, where you breathe all through your mouth and you go from your stomach to your chest, and then you go back down like that in this kind of circular fashion. And I think it might be even a little similar to the Wim Hof and how he does it. So I do that sometimes in between my breaks when I'm on the mat at the gym. But my breathing practice really started in 2009. And during that time, I was in my third year in college. And right before that, just to provide context, I was taking a lot of different drugs. Just you're experimental. I was experimental. Like, so I was taking, I was snorting coke. I was crushing up Percocets. I was crushing up a lot of those opiates like Vicodins. I was not just taking ecstasy. I was crushing it up and rolling up to 20, but then but there's one drug that I came across. I was already drinking with all this, right? Which just, oh man, like, there's one drug that just freaking turned everything sideways, and it was Xanax.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Xanax. Xanny bars, man. And not just taking it, like you
What does
shave
it do for you?
Anti-anxiety. I don't really know. I just remembered. So it's anti-anxiety. So it really just calms. It calms me. So anything I'm sure about, I could just do it, and I can kind of just everything's cool. Everything's good. And I love mixing it with weed because it totally counters any sense of paranoia. And then I mix it with alcohol. My first experience was my friend Angie at the time introduced it to the circle. I remember taking it. And then I remember having like 10 beers that night. But the thing about it is I was sober. Like I was just crystal clear. I'm like, what is this combination? This is the most holy combination ever, you know? And I didn't have to keep taking it. And remember, I ingested it, and so I was like, that's different than yayo because you got to take that every 10 minutes. Like, what? This is interesting. And so eventually, like things just progressed, and I started taking it. Then I started like, I want to hit it faster. You want to go straight to the brain. So what do? Snort it. I started doing that, and during that time, I was also in a relationship that I had no business being in. You know, it was just, you know, around the time found out she liked me kind of thing. And, you know, like, we just had incompatibilities, like core incompatibilities. And I realized that I was trying to change her right from the start. Core things. You're not exciting enough. Like, dude, speak up more. Like, these things and I was fucking asshole, dude. My way of dealing it, rather than realizing like, dude, you need to end this. I wanted to numb it out, right? I find a way to cope it. So I started. That's when I really got into these Xanax and drinking and smoking simultaneously. A lot of nights of freaking, dude, blacking out, but I didn't pass out. You know what I mean? And you're just like. I remember one time I was it was like, dude, I got back into consciousness, dude. I'm in the middle of a street. And I'm just walking literally in the middle of the street, man. And I'm like, where the fuck am I? And I reach out for my phone's in my pocket. It's 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, what the? Okay, no, I'm in LA. I went in West LA. You know, I had to like think, what the fuck was I? Where was I at today? What the hell? You know, I was that, like, I delirious. And then I saw Iona on the street. I'm like, oh, it's at Chris's place. I found it. And I was like, okay, where? And I went back. They're gone. Everyone's gone. So I'm like, where the fuck's my car? And I go, and I find my car finally. And the keys were in the ignition.
Holy shit.
Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And there was the stories go on and on. Like, I had this one time when I drove a stick shift. I drove a Saturn, and I was coming back from my buddy's party, and I don't even remember, but I had to have taken some Xanny bars that I had to have, and right from Washington and Redwood's the street, it was a red light, and I freaking fell asleep, dude. Wow. I wake up. And then there's the Ford Explorer police car that's literally right in front of me because it's like 3:30. There's nothing good happening at 3:30, man. What am I doing? And I hear a knock on my door, so I wake up. I'm like, oh, there's a cop. Oh, shit, I fell asleep. Hi, sir, how you doing? Sir, were you asleep? Yeah, I must have knocked out a little bit. Did you drink, sir? I mean, if I lied, I couldn't have lied, right? I'm like, yes, sir, I did. I'll tell you what, I live literally 3 blocks away. You turn down Hager to Tivoli, right there. You can follow me. I'm right there. Mm-hmm. Seriously, like, I'm sure, like, if I was a different color, they would have just freaking cuffed me and I'm out. But they let me go, and they just said, sir, go home and don't do this again. That was literally the 4th time that I got pulled over and they let me go.
Wow.
You know, there's this sense of like this invincibility, like, God, I'm a smooth guy. I could fucking get out of stuff. But this is tying back to why I started meditating, right? I'm going into these deep holes. But so I didn't realize withdrawals, man. Like, I never had crazy withdrawals from drugs before, but I remember that. This is one last story. It's really an important one. I was going to a Dodger game with my friend Robert, Jose, and this other chick, their friend. The last time, right before I left, took the last line, and I was out. And at that time, I was doing like at least a bar a day, snorting it. And that's kind of a lot. For me, that was. I was snorting like 5 lines a day of Xanax. And so my body was
That's
just used to it.
how many pills is that?
No, it's 1 bar, one of those long bars. So
I never seen Xanax in. So what does Xanax look like? It's like a
oh,
pill.
it's like a little white rectangle. It's like a little white rectangle like this, and it
Okay.
has 4 different things, sliver things. And so I would usually take one. I never ingested it anymore. I just snorted it.
I see.
So it was probably like I was taking about 1 a day, which for me was
And
a
for
lot.
like a normal
No.
patient, how much do they take a day?
Good question. I'm not really sure. I don't know. Like I didn't do that research. I wanted to, damn it. I just wanted to not have to feel cowardly, And so I remember being at that Dodger game right away, dude, when we had really good seats. We were right between home base and first. You can see a lot from that vantage point, man. Had a beer. We all had a beer. We're all sitting next to each other. I was so jittery. I was just like, I can't fucking pull out my phone and just start and text everybody, dude. I'm like, yo, I need to get some bars, dude. Like, where you at? And I was talking to like friends' exes to be like, hey, I was like, who? And I'm spent all 3 hours basically doing that. And at the end, it's something about those epiphany moments, where I could not stand being sober. I couldn't stand and this whatever those physical withdrawals, like Xannies, man, those withdrawals were real, man. They were fucking. It was rough.
What does that feel? What does that look like?
It was like I couldn't shape. I was so antsy. Like even alcohol wouldn't do it. Like it's just I couldn't. I don't even remember the game. I don't remember anything. I just remember like
it just take you out.
Dude, it's out.
It really takes you out of like this experience.
It takes you out of it completely. And then so there was that moment where I really like it was the wake up call, and I remember, and I was just I caught myself, man, and I was just like, and it was just kind of all in my head, and like no one else could probably see it. It was just like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, look at you. You're in this, it was already like the end of like you're at a Dodger game having good seats and you don't even know what the fuck's going on. And you know what it is. It's like this little voice. You know what it is. You need to get out of that relationship. You're treating her like shit. And it's not because she's shit. It's because you didn't want to be in the first place, and you're too coward of a man to admit to just say that it's over, and you're making it worse. And you're using drugs as a cop-out. So you don't have to deal with it. You know what you got to do, And that day, I made a commitment. Like, no more Xannies, no more of that. I'm done with that. And then that voice just said, dude, you just gotta let her go, man. And it was the day before our 1 year. That was kind of like shortly after that. I was like, I can't wait. I can't give it to her on the year. I can't wait. So I ended up like going to her place and just breaking it off. Like it's not like, and it was the hardest thing. It was so hard, man.
Yeah.
But then, so I made the vow, no more Xannies, broke up the relationship. And then I remember my dad. This is where things are going to come about the meditation. My dad, I don't know if I told him that I was in the breakup, but for some reason, man, he just recommended a book. And the book was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. He had a copy of it. He gave it to me when I came back, because I went to UC Irvine. So you can come back, it's just a 45-minute drive. And so I brought it back. And I ended up, for some reason, my dad had recommended that book to me before, and one other time, I think. I didn't give it a glance. I didn't give it a try. But for some reason, I was just at a place where it's like, just check it out, And so I started reading the book. And I said, I'm going to read this sober. I'm not going to drink and read. I'm not going to smoke. I'm just going to do it. All right. I was still going through some withdrawals and stuff, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to go. Seriously, like that was the first time that I freaking like immersed in the book. Like I enjoyed it. And so there's a whole bunch of learnings that I got from it. But one is that like I learned about the moment right now, you know, like this moment is really all we have, right? And it's so powerful. Like when you can dip in, there's parts of the book where it's like, you want to be more creative? Go back to your breath. Don't even think about trying to be creative. Just go back to your breath. And, you know, just start to look around as you're breathing. Like a newborn baby that's just a blank slate, like, you'll be surprised at how creative you are. And, you know, just those little, like, moments of, like, wow, there's so much that comes from this moment. I freaking gorged through the book. I remember writing on, just writing notes, dude. I had, like, 5 pages that were stapled together, and it looked like a little school child. It was so messy, you know? But I took more notes in that book than I did in my, you know,
your whole college.
Drugs. I was taking probably drugs and behavior class. And I just took, and I'm taking it on my computer. You know, I'm taking notes on my computer when I'm doing it, but this one I did by hand. And there's something magical about writing by hand.
Yeah.
The retaining the information is so much more. There's more of this relationship to whatever I'm writing, and you don't have. It's like so much more thoughtfulness is required. So it taught me about writing by hand is powerful. This moment is powerful. So much comes from this moment. And another thing is like I can learn whatever I want on my terms. I don't have to subscribe to like the literature because that was the first book that I read recreationally, aside from Harry Potter one time in middle school. Actually, that was a book report. I didn't even freaking choose to read that. That was the first book, man, that I read just by choice, that I wasn't assigned to read by a teacher, you know? And then that was so empowering. That was freaking mind-blowing. You know, like, whoa, what the hell is spirituality? What is this? And that was the first time that I started meditating. That was the first time. And I didn't start a practice like after that, like every day or something. It opened a window of like where I started to get, okay, this meditation thing, this little breath thing, this whole being in the moment kind of thing is, it was new. It tickled my curiosity. And so that the breath started in 2009 when I was tapering off a Xanax after a Dodger game, had to leave a relationship that I wasn't happy in, and my dad recommended The Power of Now.
Wow.
It's a long story. That's where it was.
It's a good story, man. It's worth the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I learned my buddy Joseph, who did episode 1, 2, and 7 with me on this podcast. He showed me the Wim Hof breath work. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I didn't know. Well, because how he got me, how he convinced me is he got these pH strips.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, pee on it right now, like before you do the breath work. And right after the breath work, pee on it again. And actually, you can see my pH go from acidic to basic within like 30
without
minutes.
Water or
without
anything.
Just breath work. Yeah, and it's so I was like, holy shit. And it wasn't like just a little change. It changed by 2. Like it was like maybe 6.5 to 8.5.
Okay, that's significant. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's pretty significant.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. And I was like, holy shit. I don't know it's good or bad, but it's doing something. So I you know, the scientist in me just it got me curious.
Yeah.
You know, and it felt great afterwards. It felt great.
You ever do it where like it started to like your hand started to do that?
Tingly, like a dinosaur hand.
Yeah.
You know. And I feel great. It was like I didn't know like we can just get high on oxygen and it's everywhere and it's free, you know, and it's good for you, right? There's no side effect, right?
Yeah.
Like that's amazing, you know. So I did that, and I taught a lot of my friends too. Everyone is like, holy shit, this is a game changer, right? Because you can be anywhere You need to have an early meeting, right? You need to have a morning call at 5 a.m. international call with someone else. How do you wake up? Coffee? Yeah, but after you drink coffee for more than 2 weeks, it kind of loses its effect, right? You gotta drink more. And are you gonna be drinking 4 cups in the morning?
Right.
But do a wind half, you'll be awake and present.
Very simply, just what is the breath like? What is it? It's all through the mouth, right?
It doesn't really matter. You
Okay.
can do from the nose or the mouth, but it's I think there's like 4 parts. The first part is kind of breath work, like fire breath, or you kind of increasing the frequency and intensity of your breath. So it's
And
like
from the stomach.
From the stomach. Yeah, you're doing like a stomach navel pumping, and then you do. And I really recommend if anyone who's listening, if you are interested, don't listen to my instruction. I'm just giving you a overall picture to kind of satisfy your curiosity. But I will say go to someone who really is a certified teacher, or go to someone who is really learned from an experienced person. Or follow. You can probably find legitimate instructions online on YouTube.
Yeah.
Actually, my friend Joseph, he made a 30-minute guide.
Oh, on YouTube.
Like voice guide with awesome music, and he put it on the web.
Nice.
And if you do that, you'll be okay, right? But I'm just giving you like an overall picture.
Yeah.
So you do the breath work, and you do 2 in and out, like deep in, deep out, deep in and deep out. And when it's out, right? Like your stomach, it's all squeezed in. And now you go into retention, basically holding your breath. So you might be thinking like, oh, holding your breath is hard. It's uncomfortable. But at this stage, it's very relaxing, because by doing the previous fire breath, you saturate your organ, your blood, or the tissue with oxygen already. So even your lung is crying out for oxygen, your body don't really need it, right? This is like the secret for those deep water diver. That's how they do it. They have to saturate their body with oxygen from breathing, and they go in, right? Or like David Blaine, right? He hold his breath for like 17 minutes.
Yeah.
I think what he did is he breathing like pure oxygen to saturate his body with oxygen. But holding the breath, you have to overcome your fear of not doing the breath. It's hard. So, you got to give that man credit to do that for 17 minutes. That's amazing.
Right.
And you do the retention, right? For as long as you can. And there will be time your lung is crying out for oxygen, and your head is like, no, I don't have to. But there will be a point you feel like you do, then you do. And you take a deep breath in, and you just hold it, and then you squeeze your body, and that's when the magic happens. Some people call this breath work DMT breathing, because you can, you'll see things like you get high on oxygen. That's when that happens, and you repeat it 4 or 5 times. Some people do 8 times. Then you really get high. Like usually for me, I do 4, and I'll get there.
Yeah.
But if you do 8 or you do 6, 8, and man, you really get there.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one. Another breath work I'm doing is Kundalini yoga. It's also amazing. It's like Kundalini yoga is more delicate, right? It has a lot of ancient breathing technology there that really works. Like I've done yoga before, but Kundalini yoga is something else.
Yeah.
It's something if you go and you follow the instruction, you commit yourself, you'll feel the result.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing. Like I'm blown away by what Kundalini yoga can do for one's body and mind. Yeah, because you're talking about the getting angry stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I remember when I was taking one of the class, the teacher was telling us to like get angry. When was the last time you go to a yoga class and your teacher to tell you to get angry? Usually there's like, oh, calm and all that. And I was like, no, get angry.
Yeah.
And while you're doing this movement, kind of, I think the purpose is kind of to pull those energy out, right? So I remember like a week later, I was driving on the freeway and someone like cut me off, and I would usually get angry. And I was like, where did my anger go?
Yeah.
It was gone. I was feeling like, okay, whatever, Yeah. So there is something there, man. Like they combine breath work with mantras and meditation. It's pretty powerful stuff. And I also I committed to do meditation last year, and I'll have like 136 days now.
Yeah, are you still using SoulSync?
I still use SoulSync.
That's a really great one. I do that periodically, that SoulSync one, and I like I don't know if it's like a 4-stage one where you have the and it's so beautifully guided. I really like that one.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite meditation. SoulSync, just for listeners out there, just go on YouTube and find SoulSync. They even have it in different languages now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like people are translating it, but I like the original version, which is in English.
Yeah, I believe for those of you listening, it's like I think it's like between a 15 to 20 minute.
Yeah, it's about 16 minutes.
16. Yeah.
And she has a beautiful voice.
Yes.
So calm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Just by listening to her, like her voice is amazing.
I agree.
It's one of the most beautiful guided meditation out there, in my opinion. Yeah. So that's that.
Kundalini is really interesting one that I really know sometimes really nothing about, and I know our mutual friends Janjua.
Yeah,
he's in it.
He's a teacher now.
Yes, he went through his 10-month I think program, and he just says how much this really impacted him. I know they do like those some classes do it for free where at 3:45 in the morning they do the sadhanas. Is it called sadhanas?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I've never been to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the Ganja Yoga, they recommended you go. They have one that's in Pasadena that's free, and Marisa, who leads these Ganja Yogas, is called Purple Lotus. For those of you who are interested, and she just said she's been doing it for 21 days straight. Like going there 3:45 to like 5:50.
Yoga?
Yeah, the
Where do you
Kundalini
live?
breath. I live in West LA.
Oh, there's
One in Santa Monica.
no, the one I go to is called Yoga West. It's on Robertson.
Okay.
It's super close. So and they have a really good teacher, and they offer that it's free.
Yeah.
So if you wake up that early.
And the parking would be no problem.
No parking, no problem. Even during the day.
How long is that practice in the morning? It's like 4 to 5.
I think 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours.
2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's just mantra and.
You know what's amazing about that too?
I never done that.
That's at a time when I would be asleep. Because the earliest that I wake up typically is 6. It would take place between 4 to 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Nah, you gotta. It will be something you have kind of make like an intention to go. I'm sleeping too.
Yeah, that's.
Just go take any yoga class.
I want to tell myself is I had I scheduled into my Google Calendar. There was one I found in Santa Monica area that was free on one of the days. I even forgot what it was. It was either Wednesday or Thursday or something. I think it was Wednesday on my mom's birthday. And I didn't go. I had the intention of going. So that is one thing that I'm actually on this podcast in March, in this February or March, within the next 30 days, I want to be going at least once.
Okay.
I'm putting it out there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think the first class in Yoga West is free anyway. So it's on me. Yeah.
For the actual class too, not the morning ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can go to any one class. It's free.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And just, kind of turning the tables a little bit. So if you can just, as best justice and just in a nutshell too, what has Kundalini given you?
I'm still figuring it out, but generally, okay. If I break it down, like physically, I'm stronger, especially my back. Right, I'm like if you see me a year ago, I'm always a little crouched over. You know, my upper body is always like kind of like this.
Yeah.
Now my back is straight, like stronger and more straight. You know, when I walk around, like I notice my posture change. You know,
And that's through with the kind of the way that you sit during the
the
exercise?
movement you do, you just get stronger naturally. Yeah,
Okay.
and they don't really. It's not forced. It's kind of nurtured into, and I'm more flexible.
Yeah.
I love that part. You know, I love being flexible. You know, it's one of my friend who is practicing martial art black belt. He's like, let me tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone else, because he was a little embarrassed by it. It's like, you know, like once I became like a black belt and what I learned about like how do I get better is I start doing yoga.
Oh.
And I become more flexible. My joints are flexible. I flow better, a lot better. So I'm becoming more flexible by doing that.
Yeah.
And that's number one, right?
Yeah.
And spiritually is sometimes if you run into a good teacher, and you can get into a very, very deep and meaningful meditation, you know, not like very deep and meaningful. I get to like investigate certain part of my life in a very calm, not judging way, and it just kind of get to reorganize my thoughts in a very meditative state, and I love that. I really love that. And also emotionally, I'm calmer, even more calmer. You know, things don't really disturb me.
Just like driving in
Right,
traffic.
right. So I think that's enough benefit for anyone.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like physically, you get stronger, more flexible. You get deep, meaningful meditation, and emotionally, you're just stronger.
Yeah.
You know.
I like how you also went about it. You went about like physical, spiritual, emotional. You went through addressed like just the different areas. That was cool.
And I talked to like episode 8. I had an interview with one of my friends. She's a powerful Kundalini yoga teacher, and she talked about her journey. She went from she had like at the time before she did Kundalini yoga, her body is so damaged from a lot of things she was going through, and now I look at her, like I told her, like she's about my age, right? And one day I was like looking at her, like from her back, I was like, man, on the backside, if I like don't know you look like a high school girl. You know, it's like vibrant, like straight back, strong, you know, just a, you know, and you see a lot of that in the community.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, women, you know, like I remember this time I was doing yoga, and from my kind of peripheral view, I saw the lady beside me. I thought she was like 20 years old because the way she moved, her body type. At the end, I look at her. She's like 60. It kind of scared me a little bit. It's like, holy shit. I thought she was like 28, 29. And I look over, holy shit.
Yeah.
Her face is like...
and that's just like a common...
It's common. It's like, and everyone's skin is, you know, a seasoned Kundalini yogi. You can see they're just glowing. And I was like, I want some of that, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, check it out, man.
That's bad. That's badass right there. Because actually, you know, that's one of my, from a more physical perspective with regards to women, it's skin. There's something about healthy skin that I find so sexy.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe my wifey's going to be in Kundalini. Oh man, you just planted a seed right there.
It's a good community, you know. And it's the breath work, right? Because it's all about breathing. It's all about, it's a conscious, you're turning something you don't really think about into a conscious
Amen. Yes.
Action.
Yes.
You know, and that's powerful.
That is.
And most people don't pay attention to breathing.
Yeah.
You know,
and
most
we're not
people
taught. We're not taught
how
to breathe.
But that's so important.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if we all breathe like 15% better. Our days are gonna go by so much better.
Yeah.
You know, you get more oxygen in, you feel better, more energy, feel calmer, happier, your head is clear. But it takes practice to build that muscle.
Right.
To build that habit, you know?
Absolutely.
It doesn't just happen. You have to build this new breathing mechanism into yourself, you know?
Right.
And like as parent, I love it because, like, you know, sometimes kids get out of control and I'll just be like, oh, you know, okay, yeah, you know, it'll pass.
Yeah.
You know, just like my breath, it'll pass and then it will be the next one.
Yes.
You know, his motion it will pass. His behavior will pass, and we'll talk about that later when he's calm. You know, when I'm calm.
Yeah.
More importantly, when
have you
I'm
done any?
calm.
Have you done any like breathing with your son?
I actually did.
Yeah.
He saw me sitting down and meditating and breathe once, and he sat down next to me, but just once, once, and he got bored. He's like, okay. I'm gone.
Right, right.
Like, but he's like respectful of what I'm doing.
That's
you know,
so
he's like,
powerful right there.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I'll be going now.
Yeah,
you do it. You know,
that's really what I find so powerful about that.
Yeah,
is that you didn't, you know, like it was from your practice. You were doing that, and you didn't even say, "Son, sit with me and let's breathe." In that instance, huh? You were doing your practice, and his curiosity was tickled.
Yeah.
At 4, how old was he at the time? Was that 4?
Yeah, 4.
Enough to be like, let me sit next to Pops and try to do this myself. And he gave it a try without being told to do it.
Yeah.
You know? That's really, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh? It's interesting. Well, it's like you said, we don't really teach by our words. We teach by what we do, you know?
Yeah.
So there's no cheating, you know. You can't be like doing one thing and say something, expect the kids to pick up on what you say and not what you do. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Damn it, you know.
I know. Damn
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really, you know, that's really something for me to be like conscious of too, you know, because of like, nowadays I do. I have to be very careful when I'm relying on my gift of gab to like, are you really doing that? Are you really doing that? You know, can't, man. So yeah, it's just a great reminder.
Yeah.
Great reminder. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Wow, this has been very very fruitful. I feel like I've just was in flow and completely just lost track of time.
We didn't even talk about Flowmasters.
I know. That's hilarious. Well, we don't have to. It doesn't have to be a long thing, but that was something that I wanted to address. But really, just in the end, really, what for anyone listening about Flowmasters. Well, first off, just arigato gozaimasu. I appreciate you sustaining your attention for this long, especially in an era and in a world where so many things are pulling at our attention. That to actually be able to sustain focus, my cousin, my cousin has been like just studying the different comments from people, like of Tom Bilyeu, of Tony Robbins, and the different comments of what people are really struggling with the most. And as far as a buzzword goes, the word that stands out more than the others is focus. Just the ability to sustain attention on a particular thing, you know, is understandably, is increasingly more difficult nowadays. But and as you can see, it didn't address Flowmasters. but what I love about Flowmasters is basically Flowmasters is self-expression therapy, and it started by accident. Like it's basically free. It's transformation disguised as freestyle rapping. You know, it's therapy disguised as freestyle rapping. And a lot of people are kind of afraid of it, or they're just like, I don't know, I don't have rhythm, I don't like to rhyme. That's stupid. I don't see how that can benefit my life. And I'm like, cool, you know? There's actually certain people who are really dope freestyle rappers that, like, one person wanted to come out more, and I just haven't been like extending invitations to him because he just doesn't fit the Flowmasters mold, because it's not about being a dope rapper and to show how good you are. What really Flowmasters is about is it's about truth, you know? And in the fine words of my friend Yoram, he calls it raw authenticity, raw authentic self-expression. And when you come to that circle and you just express yourself, don't think about the rhyming, just express yourself like, this is what's going on in my life. This is what I believe in. This is what I care about. This is the changes that I want to make. This is the legacy I want to leave. I care about my mom. I'm kind of afraid or worried about my mom. Like all these different things, and you bring it there. It doesn't have to rhyme because it's true. And when it's true, like it's going to touch the hearts of maybe not everybody in the room, but it's going to touch the hearts of those who are receptive enough and need to hear it the most. And that's the power of it. And there's one person, our mutual, like Tomjanovich. But his son came out to one of the Flowmasters.
Oh, nice.
And he came out to the creative gathering that was hosted by Samir and them. And then Flowmasters is a segment in there. And we have different concepts in it. One's called Flow's Just Around the Corner. And what that means is that when we're talking about flow, we're actually talking about flow state. Right, flow state is actually it's really fascinating because it's a term called transient hypofrontality. Some of the great work has come from this guy named Stephen Kotler and Jamie Wheel. They're the leading experts of flow state right now, and basically transient hypofrontality is when your prefrontal cortex shuts off, and your prefrontal cortex that's where decision making comes from. That's where planning comes from. What am I going to eat today? It's also where all of those thoughts of, am I going to do good? Am I going to do good at that meeting? What if I fuck up? It's where the inner critic, it comes in that prefrontal cortex and it shuts off. And so basically all of the planning, which is amazing, which we can use for so many different things, when we're in flow state, there's no, like you're so in it. Like when I'm in flow state and I'm rhyming and I'm in flow state, I'm not planning that. It's just happening. It's just channeling. And so we were going, and then our mutual friends said, hey, my son wants to come up. And so I just said, hey buddy, how you doing? And then he's like, I don't want to, no, whatever my dad said, I don't want to do it, And so I kneeled down, just eye to eye with him. And I just said, oh, great, But hey, look, if you think that by going up there, you'd be proud of yourself, if you did, and it would make you feel good about yourself, just pull me on the shirt. I got you, okay? You don't have to go, though. And I went up and I started facilitating it. And then
how old is he?
He's 12. He's 11 or 12.
Nice.
And so about 10 minutes or so after, I get that tug on my shirt. He's like, I want to go up. I was like, cool. I'll have you go up. So this girl was finishing up. And then, I just said, hey, it's Marco. He's 12 years old. And he's he's deciding to come up, y'all. So let's give a round of applause. And then he came up. I don't even know what kind of beat us, but he just came up, and I'm paraphrasing it. I'm probably badgering what he said, but he essentially what he was saying was like, I didn't want to come up here because I was scared. You guys are all bigger than me. You're older than me, and I didn't know. I didn't think that I could do it, but I wanted to. So I'm coming up here and I'm saying that even though you might feel scared to do something, just you can go and do it and you can still do it. And he was almost like he was talking to himself, giving a pep talk, you can do it. And he was offbeat. Mm-hmm. He didn't rhyme. He was speaking his truth. And that's Flowmasters. Like, he was the epitome of Flowmasters that night. Mm. And I think they actually, Tamiya, he has the video of it. I wish I could see it. But it inspired everybody in the room to see that kid. That wisdom of like, and it's something that we can hear, but like to see someone come up there, it goes beyond that intellect. And because you can emotionalize it when you see like this little kid who is scared of it, whose brain isn't even half fully developed yet. You're like at 12 years old, he's not even his teens yet. Like his sex hormones he's not even hitting puberty yet. He realizes this thing around fear, and that even when you're fearful, you can still go for what you desire. And I love that. And so we've it started in the four walls in my apartment. And my apartment was just started with me and my friend Michael. We just both like to freestyle. We met in Toastmasters, so we're both coaches too. And we're fascinated with public speaking. And we found out we like to freestyle. Like, what a fucking triad that is. Coaching, public speaking, and freestyle. Fuck yeah. And so we just started meeting up, and we just started freestyling in our own place. And then I would just get so juiced because I haven't freestyled since high school or something, But then I'm like, oh man, I started actually getting, like, after I started freestyling more in my speeches, when I started speaking, maybe I was hearing it more different, but people are like, you have a cadence to your speaking. Like, it's almost like there's a rhythm to it. And it's very hypnotic. I would get that. Like, it's almost like your spoken word when you're speaking in a way, and it's very hypnotic. And I attribute that to Flowmasters, And my friend that came to one of the Flowmasters, he was saying, Gavin, this shit's powerful. I'm trying to imitate him. He's like, I have a question. Have you ever met a pimp? I'm like, no, I never met a pimp, man. And he's like, you know how pimps talk, though? You probably see it in movies, right? And I'm like, yeah. Are you trying to talk like one right now? And he's like, yeah, like so you know about them, right? Like when they talk, they got like a little bit of beat to them. There's like a little bit of rhythm. And you can kind of understand like how they're kind of like real women in, like, hey, sugar, how you doing? Hey, come over here. Yeah, you're looking good right there. Yeah. Tell you what, would you like to make a quick buck right here? Good, you said your family, right? Yeah, that's right. And he was just saying there's a rhythm. And so so it just reminds me like, yeah, like conversation is kind of like music, Conversation is a flow. And that's just, people like start saying to me like, oh, Gavin's in his Flowmasters right now. And I'm just talking, but it's so cool. Like, it's inspired somebody to start up a podcast. It's inspired my cousin who didn't really freestyle to do so many different creative things. He has this thing called Chalk Talks, which is an amazing podcast where it's cacao ceremony, heart opening, right? And then he just has this heart-centric conversation with somebody that starts with cacao, and he calls it Chalk Talks. And I think he had the idea, it's just given birth through Flowmasters. It's inspired him to channel that creativity, and it's worthy in the world. And this person that came too, if you do have any particular questions, feel free to ask. This lady, she was like in her mid-50s. She just came through. I met her at the gym. And then she came to one. And then I saw her a couple of days after at the gym, and she's like, what's interesting? When I never saw myself as a musician or a songwriter, I never even cared. I didn't find value in it for me. I like listening to music, but not to me. That's just not something that I saw for me. And I woke up the next day and I went to the gym and I was in the sauna, and a song came to me about like the injustice in when it comes to sheriffs, and how easy it is it was an experience that she had with in the family. And she's like, the song came to me. I had to run upstairs to the locker, unlock it, get the book, and I just started writing. And 8 pages later, like, I created kind of like this song about how there needs to be more policies around what it takes to be a sheriff, you know? And I never knew. Now, mind you, I don't know what she's going to do with that song. It's just, all I know is it's touching on people realizing that they're a lot more creative in ways that they never even thought before. And it's sparking what my cousin and I like to say, wonderment. This wonderment to wonder about, you know, a new world for themselves, about what if I did sing? What if it wasn't about freestyle rapping? What if I was able to express it? You know, what if I'm scared? What if I just shared this is what's going on in my life in this space, in this safe container, right? And if you can wonder, you know, when you can wonder, like, that's a great first step, you know? So for y'all, like, Flowmasters is not about freestyle rapping. It's about your truth. And when you bring it in there, you really touch the hearts of the people that need to hear it. And so we've been holding it monthly at the Mid-City Art House in Mid-City, Los Angeles. Would love for you to come out to one of them. Even if you just wanted to come and witness it. We hold at least once a month, and we're actually, one thing is I really want to bring it into some of the innovative leaders of the world, especially millennial innovative leaders, you know, that are stepping into these big roles, especially when it comes to tech. This is one of my dreams that I'm wanting to break into, is the tech world for millennial leaders. And one of the reasoning behind that is, like, in Flowmasters, it's so camaraderie building, and it's truth, it's real, and it gets in touch with that very element of what makes us human, you know, that, like, we all have our blemishes, we all have different things, and when we're in connection, like, our world is so much bigger. And I think that we are at this intersection with technology and different things where, you know, maybe thinking in terms of ethics or that sense of connection, there's that big debate, right? This sense of human connection is getting lost. And so my intention is that through Flowmasters to actually have that sense of human connection being at the forefront, disguised as this little freestyle rapping thing, but as the forefront of all of the things that they do, whether it's how they communicate with their employees, in terms of the services that they make. Just remember, like find that place of truth, you know, and what are you really hoping that this product or this thing's going to give. And when people can express themselves in the Flowmasters, it's almost like they're talking things through and they're processing it as they're talking through it. And the truth comes out. Like, there's this guy who came to one of ours at the Creative Gathering, and Flowmasters was in it. And he said in one of his rhymes, I listened to it probably like 10 times in the past month. And he said, all they see is what I do, but they don't hear who I am. What else did he say? He's like, these past 5 months have been a deconstruction of everything that I thought I've been. And I'm slowly piecing it back together, hoping to become even more whole, you know? And he started singing and just saying that, like, I can't be what I do. I can't be what I do. And so as it, you know, like, people can take it how they want. Whatever it was, he was channeling that. If he's not happy with his work or whatever, you know, he's like, that was my interpretation, is like, he doesn't want to allow his work and what he does to define who he is as a human being, you know? And he didn't plan that. that was just coming through the essence of when you're in that flow, like, and you just trust. Because when you're in that place, you have to trust, man, because you don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. And that's why flow is just around the corner. If you start to doubt yourself, sometimes you never know. Like, our thing is that flow is just around the corner, but sometimes you don't know how far it's going to take to get to the corner because it's kind of foggy. You can't really see the corner. The only certainty of it is if you stop, you're just not going to get there. You know? So that's one of the notions. Another notion of Flowmasters is called rally the cipher, we say. And so we say, like, our goal is that whoever has the mic, our goal is that we want them to get into flow, get into their flow state, you know? And so that means that, like, when you're there, like, you don't even have to say anything, but just send forth that energy and that intention to them, like, yeah, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. I want you to get into flow state. And if they say something in the raps, like, do this, just acknowledge them, you know, like, let them know that you felt that. And that will help to encourage them. And rally the cipher is just something that we can do in life, you know, like encouraging the people around. And even if it's unspoken, Bob Proctor has something called 11 Forgotten Laws, and he's really been doing a lot of transformational work around paradigms, how we really see the world. And he said one of his laws is about silent praise. And you know, he's just like, you don't have to always verbally let people know, like, that they're doing a good job. Like, another practice is just silently wish people well. You know, silently wish people. You can also let them know too, like, even a passerby, you know, you just send forth that energy of, like, hey, I see you and I don't know you, but you're enough, you know. And that's what rally the cipher is, you know. I think that a lot of the things could be very transferable into life. And there's just something where my cousin kept saying, like, you have to continue pushing forward, because the amount of feedback that you're getting just from somebody who's coming one time, it, like, there's something here. And even when I feel like I don't catch flow when I'm doing it, like, it makes me realize, like, this is not about me now. Meditation with Mama is not about me. Flowmasters is not about me. And I went to an Akashic reading. I'm just becoming more, like, open to, like, let me just see, like, these different ones, this different modalities, and I'm open to seeing, like, and I'll pick what chooses me. And I asked the lady,
is she any good?
I just did a group Akashic reading. Have you ever gotten one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if you feel like yours is good.
Well, it was a group Akashic reading. I met her at this event, and basically she just it wasn't like a very individual. We just had a time for, like, a quick question, and she just had a couple of minutes with each. And so, but what my question was to her was, like, I've been really, like, kind of lip servicing this mantra, and I haven't been fully living into it. But and the mantra has been, Divine Creator, enslave me to my highest purpose. And I've been saying it, and I'm like, I'm still pondering that. I'm like, really, what is my divine purpose? And that George Bernard Shaw quote comes up to me, like, by the end of my life, I want to be spent. I want to be spent and, you know, exhausted, giving myself to something that's so much bigger than myself, you know. And I'm like, what? I want to ask the question, just what is my like divine highest purpose that I can enslave myself to? And then the only thing she said to me was, as you were speaking, golden musical notes were pouring out of your heart. You know? And the first thing I thought about was Flowmasters. Yeah. You know? And I think bigger than me, just the pouring out of my heart, it's just like those golden notes. It pours out of theirs, you know, the people that come. And so, yeah, like if Flowmasters, if anybody's actually interested in that, you know, you can go right now to gavinmasumiya.com. I have a section. I'm growing out a section of it. We also have flowmasters.group that you can find it out.
Can you spell out the website?
Yeah, FLOW. Oh, so my website is gavinmasumiya.com. GAVINMASUMIYA.com. And if you go down, there will be a section that says Flowmasters under services. And you can click on it. And I'm going to continue building it out, but you can find it there for now. We're going to be going through a restructuring because I'm really thinking about it more strategically. But that's where you can definitely find me. I find more about it in the mission.
I love it, man. Yeah, next one you have an event, let me know. I'll go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to. I would love to check it out.
Yeah, like I'm in a space, man, where it's there's like there's certain fears, you know, just like certain things are really picking up as far as like, oh man, how are you gonna make this with these financially? Like, are you gonna have to pick up another job? Like, you know, and then at the same time, man, like, fuck, dude, I'm so mission driven right now. I'm so alive right now, dude. I've had like, gee, dude, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes we just got to give our pats on the back, like, and that's what I see with my clients too, that some of the hardest things in my clients, and maybe it's because it's the road that I've been traveling to travel, is just like learning to acknowledge yourselves, you know? I'm like, fuck, I'm doing amazing shit, man. And it's starting small right now, and the implications, man, just keep putting in the work, you know, keep sharing it. My 2 words, y'all, this is something that can be very practical for you too. My 2 words in 2020, and this is something that I started doing in 2019, and I'm going to continue doing it, is like, what 2 words or qualities am I going to bring into this new year? You can say new decade, whatever it is, whatever you're listening to, you can say it. And my 2 words that came to mind for me, and I really pondered this for like, I didn't just decide it on New Year's Eve. I pondered it for about 3 weeks with the help of my coach too. And one is audacity. And audacity to me, it means like boldly determined, you know? And so that means like Flowmasters is going to be, we're going to have a Flowmasters with Michael Beckwith, you know, with Michael Beckwith. And we're going to teach, and we're going to have him in flow, and we're going to have some of the agape participants be a part of it. And then they're going to experience themselves in flow, not just seeing this amazing genius in flow state on stage, but that they can channel it themselves. That's audacity. That's going to happen. And so audacity. And the second one is excellence. Just being excellent in my craft, you know, really getting really good at, I call it being an MC squared. So it's like being really good at garnering my mindset as a mindset coach, MC, and also being a master of ceremonies as an MC of Flowmasters, you know, and group facilitation. I'm just so passionate about that. And so, yeah, one of my goals, I'm declaring some of them, is to speak in front of 1,000 people in 2020, is to hold a multi-day event, you know, break 6 figures in 2020. And there's some other ones like having sex with 10 beautiful women. I mean, I have some fun ones too. But really, I'm feeling, as scary as it is, man, I'm on the right path, you know? I'm on the right path. And even when I'm talking to my mom with the heartfelt conversations, it's just everything reminds me, whether I'm afraid, whether I'm feeling good or this, that, it's like, man, everything goes back to, for me so far in my humble years, I still have a whole lot of life left, a whole lot to learn, a whole bunch of things I don't know, y'all. And one thing that I'm reminded of is that it's the journey. It's the journey. Sadness, all those different things, like all of it, it's the journey. The journey's the destination. Just be in the journey. Be in the journey. Be in the journey. Don't run away from the journey. You know? And that brings me back to ground, to being centered again, you know?
Amazing, man. Yeah. Flowmaster.
Flowmasters, where I'm forever a teacher and a student, you know, like the master in flow is not about I know everything. Fuck that. What I know is I don't know. With flow master, it's like it's that just that continual journey of just trusting myself and following that flow, man. And I found I found something that started inside my apartment. It's one of those happy accidents, dude. And I'm out to really just share it with the world. And I don't even know exactly what that looks like, but all I know is I'm just taking steps forward in it, and it's scary.
Keep doing it.
I'm alive, dude.
That's the only key, man.
Yeah.
Just like this podcast, you know.
Hell yeah.
It took me a long while before I have the courage to start a podcast.
And what was it for you that ended up being that last thread? It's like, I've been thinking about this too long. This is happening.
I think it's my buddy Wes.
Yeah.
He kind of pushed me over the, you know, kind of last step. It's just like, you just gotta do it, man. And don't worry about the quality, how good you are, how bad you are. Just like, don't even judge yourself till you hit episode 100. It's like, before that, just don't even pay attention to your performance, because too early.
Yeah.
Right? Just too early to judge yourself.
Was that the first time that someone ever kind of said that to you like that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's like, you just gotta do it, man. Just like, don't like. I was procrastination. You know, I was like researching what's the best microphone for podcasts, what's the best cable, what's the best software. I spent 6 months doing that. Yeah. And he's like, you know, stop. Just get what I got.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll send you a link. Just get exactly what I have. That's the shit you need. And I did. So everything you see here, he has the same one. Mm-hmm. And I started doing it. I actually had 2 podcasts, and
okay.
And this is my second one. But the first one is actually in Chinese. It's like 10 minutes long each. You know, pretty much like what you did. I have about 90 episodes there. And
what is that one about?
Around like being a man. Like,
and is it just you kind of like speaking on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a monologue.
Yeah.
It's about like living as a man. Like, what's our challenge, and what are the stuff, you know, what are like the mistake we make, and don't do what I do, or, you know, follow this man, like, you know, different stuff. It's like a little flow session. I forced myself to do 1 episode every day for like 90 days. So I have about 90 episodes. Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. And the reason I wanted to do it is because, you know, after listening to all the amazing podcasts in the United States, what I realized is, like, living here, like we are really enjoy true freedom here. You know, like, not about just physical, personal freedom, but like you can think freely. And the whole environment is encouraging that, right? I would say in a lot of Asian countries, it's pretty free too. It's democratic, right? But the air isn't as free as here, right? Yeah. So I was thinking about the man, the brothers, the husband, the fathers there. I was like, what are they listening to, right? So I went on to one of the biggest platform called Himalaya. It's based in China. I was like, there's really nothing like doing similar stuff. So I said, okay, I'll start one, and just serving, you know, men that's my age, that's my target group, you know. So, and actually, I'm surprised by how many people respond to the program. Yeah.
And it's in China.
It's in China. Yeah, mostly listeners are in China.
Yeah.
But it's a Chinese platform. It's like a Apple Podcast.
Yeah. And so anybody with American account, you have to go through a VPN to do that?
No. You don't have to. You just have to link to their website. But to publish, you have to, I forgot what's the process I have to go through. It's not as easy as here.
Yeah.
They have to like see your real ID. They need to know who you are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But besides that, I can talk about anything I want. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like someone's like telling me like you can say this or that.
Yeah.
So I talk about anything I want. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
even like people like writing me message, asking me questions. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer your question.
Wow.
But yeah, so I'm.
Fuck yeah,
so
dude.
yeah. So
I
that
love
one,
that.
I'm not really putting more episodes in. I'm doing this now. Yeah, because I kind of transitioned my role. I'm now a father, and I'm a lot more committed to this role than other role. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah. Any last few things you wanna? I think we are wrapping this up.
We are absolutely wrapping this
Yeah.
up. Y'all, I just I know that life can get crazy, you know, and during those times, and even when times are good, like come back to the breath. It has an unspoken way of grounding you. Complete.
Amen to that. Okay, we're gonna say goodbye. To the next one.
Dude, how long was that?